See football action set to go here on We Digital Productions. It's the St.Clair Fratmen hosting the Hamilton Hurricanes. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our broadcast here at Acumen Stadium. A beautiful night for football. Of course, joining us, the doctor of football, Badi Akwas, our color commentator. And Badi, it's the last game of the season for both teams. Really nothing at stake here tonight. When you look at the playoff settings, it's all set up. We know the Fratmen will play Quinny. We know Hamilton will go to London. What is there to play for here tonight?
Well, I can speak as a former Fratman. I think I still hate Hamilton. So the reality of it is there is that built-in rivalry, so there's that dislike of the opponent, and this is their first time on the new home field for the Fratmen. So I really do think there's always that element of competitive pride. You never want to give the opponent any opportunity to have any hope, especially going into the playoffs, as this is the regular season finale.
Before we get to the Fratmen, let's talk about the Hurricanes. Of course, as mentioned, we know they're going to London to take on the Beefeaters next week in the first OFC semifinal. What do you know about this squad, Badi? And Hamilton is a very well-coached team, one of the more competitive teams in the OFC.
If anything from history tells me that they're going to want to control the line of scrimmage with their bigs. Generally speaking, Hamilton's a team that's usually bigger up front than most teams, and they want to impose their will. They want to get into that situation where it's grinding out first downs and making the defense stay on the field an awful long so that they can steal an explosive one later on in the game. So I expect Hamilton to really go right back to the basics for this game and try to force the issue with a strong ground game, establishing something for possibly 2 weeks down the road if Hamilton is able to beat London and the Fratmen take care of business next week.
Now for the Fratmen, we said, they've clinched first place, they've clinched home field, but there's some personal marks here that are on the line, some records that could be set here tonight. Jacob Savoni's had an outstanding year at the running back position, but all of those records have to mean something, and certainly something to shoot for the team.
There's always some semblance of pride when it comes to record breaking, as long as it's not at the expense of losing a critical player going in. Yes, the Fratmen have had a luxury of opportunities over the course of the last decade where their last game was more of a padding the stats type of game. But for instance, the offensive line, they don't get a lot of records, but if they get a couple hundred yards on the ground from Jacob, he could eclipse 1,000 yards, which is always a big number to an offensive lineman. He's one touchdown away from the conference record, or from the team record, but I think he's only 3 touchdowns away from the conference record. So there's things along those lines. And then, of course, Beal is having such a tremendous year. He's looking to add to his already existing records. And then Jake Holloway, he's had a tremendous season already, kicking his way into some of the national records along the way. So, yes, records are important, but it's making sure it's tempered with the idea that we're here to win, but we're also here to get ready for the playoffs and make sure everyone's healthy going forward.
And we do want to keep everybody healthy, of course. We had a real bad injury last week. We need everybody to stay healthy on both sides. We want Hamilton to go. Good evening and welcome to Acumen Stadium on the campus of St. Clair College.
And, of course, you have Villanova and some of these other schools that are well represented here. It's wonderful to see that the team is recognizing their leaders. Some of them are in their first and only year. Others have put 4 or 5 years into the program, and it's nice to recognize them as they get their applause here from our crowd, and they are well deserving of that recognition.
Some of the players who will be graduating seniors at the end of this campaign: Jacob Savoni, Tito Alex, Cody Holmes, Michael Beal, Marcus Cooper, Nash Prier, and David Ariam, along with Jake Holloway, Matt O'Neill, Tyler Musso, Kyle Bruner, along with Taylor Briggs, Dante D'Andrea, Kyle Jennings, and Jordan Rube. Amongst those players, a lot of star-studded talent a part of this year's core. who is on their way to graduating from the program.
Yeah, and for them, this means a lot, finishing off the regular season and heading into their playoff season coming up real soon.
Take a quick moment of silence as Remembrance Day approaches here.
My name is Nicole Pekala. Before I was in the welding program, I was a pet nutritionist at a pet shop for about 3 years. You'll be surprised how great it is to be a woman in the trades because it's such a welcoming community. Every woman that I've met that's in the trades program or has studied within the trades is just so happy to be in it. And why wouldn't you want to be a part of something that everybody else is enjoying and loving themselves? My name is Nicole Pekala. Before I was in the welding program, I was a pet nutritionist at a pet shop for about 3 years. You'll be surprised how great it is to be a woman in the trades because it's such a welcoming community. Every woman that I've met that's in the trades program or has studied within the trades is just so happy to be in it. And why wouldn't you want to be a part of something that everybody else is enjoying and loving themselves?
Welcome back to Windsor, Ontario for tonight's coverage of OFC football as the Fratmen look to try and remain undefeated to close out the regular season as they take on the 4-3 Hamilton Hurricanes. Once again, Justin Prince-Pediquas with you for tonight's action. And keep in mind, all four teams have been now locked in for the postseason, but this is an opportunity for drivers to build up, or rather players to build potential records, but also for the Fratmen to try and get an undefeated season at the end of the night.
Yeah, Justin, as I mentioned in the pregame opener with Dominic, I playing at the Fratmen, I still think I hate Hamilton, and there's always some sort of drive to always want to beat them and not give them any kind of hope or momentum going into the playoffs. So there's some natural rivalry and there's some pride on the line that you never want to lose on your home field and you never want to lose against your rivalry. And you'll see here that it looks like Hamilton has won the toss and deferred, so it looks like the Fratmen are likely going to get the ball to start, and that is indeed the indication. And you know they're going to want to come out early, often, as you alluded to. You're going to get the opportunity to maybe set some records along the way, as you see our officiating crew now listed in our screen.
Brett Webster will be the referee for tonight, with the umpire being Dave Frank. Larry Rogers will be the downs judge, with the line judge, Don Hollerhead. Corey Cousins is side judge, with back judge, John Dodson. Kirk Hayes is the field judge for this evening's action from the main campus of St. Clair College in Windsor, Ontario. It's very brisk, let's put it that way tonight. 7 degrees Celsius, it feels like 4 degrees, and that's expected to drop throughout the night. Wind gusts have reached as high as 24 kilometers per hour. Some have been recorded up to 18 kilometers per hour, and it's mainly clear skies. In fact, not a cloud in the sky at the moment for kickoff.
Yeah, and Justin, it might be brisk to us. The guys on the field, they're not going to feel it. Your heart's racing. As it was mentioned in the opener, you saw a bunch of the graduating players. They're already amped up. The whole team is amped up. You got the natural rivalry in. They don't feel a thing. We're going to be a little cooler, but they'll be just fine.
Now, it's the matter of who will close out the campaign with a victory. Hamilton looks to move to 5-3 to avoid ending at 500. But the Fratmen, 7-0 entering tonight, look to try and get to an undefeated mark at the end of the regular season, as they have already clinched the top spot in the OFC. Team's just about moments away from the opening kickoff for tonight's action. Big-time matchup here for OFC football. The final regular season game of the season is all set to go. Jared Fernandez-Brown will kick things away. We're underway from Windsor. Ball bounces its way around the 15, returned by Dante Lewis. Lewis cuts right. Lewis brought down just past the 35.
Yeah, I would have liked to see Dante catch that ball in the air. Fortunately, it took a bounce right into his shin and stopped dead for him, so he's able to get this here. But anytime you get that ball on the left hash the way he had it, and he had some blockers set up on the seam, my guess is he probably could have breached the 40-yard line, maybe got a little bit more out of that. The coverage was able to get on him a little earlier than he probably wanted because he mishandled that opening kick.
The offense is led by Michael Beal amongst the graduating seniors. He enters tonight amongst the top 30 all-time in OFC pass completion percentage. Starting things off with a deep ball. The jump, the catch! What a grab! Dante Lewis with the jumping leap inside the 40.
You know what? That it could be candidate for play of the year, quite frankly. Beal had his eyes set on one person, so he must have saw something pre-snap that he liked that matchup right away. But full extension, got his hands under it, cradled the ball, rolled to protect himself so he didn't land hard on the turf. That is an unbelievably athletic play by number 18, Dante Lewis. What a tremendous opening start. What a great catch for that young man. And that is the exact recipe that I know the Fratmen want. Get up early and then protect yourself going into the playoffs.
There's a reason Beal was amongst some of the top quarterbacks. In fact, the top quarterback this season. 23 touchdowns, a team record. 4 interceptions. Just now above 1,500 yards with that completion. Passing again, 1st and 10. Again going inside the 20. The jump ball caught inside the 15. And the Fratmen starting off with some big plays early.
Well, I think it's a pretty easy setup right now. When the motion came across, Beal knew right away on the outside he had straight man, and he's going to trust Hayes Williams to come down with it. He saw the motion. The pressure was coming up the middle. The offensive line did a great job picking that up. A clean pocket to Beal to throw into, and he just got it to the outside shoulder of his receiver, and his receiver was able to fight off some what looked like pretty good darn defense and corral that ball in.
Terrell the Burge was the player on coverage as Beal looks to pass. 1st and 10 in the red zone. Again, an air jump ball. Quickly caught for a second straight completion. Jared Hayes Williams.
And that was not the best throw. That was high and behind Jared, and he did a great job with that hands catch. He reached up from behind and was able to pull it down. That slant, he wants to get him in stride here, and there's a chance he might have been able to turn that right up into the end zone, into that checkerboard for a touchdown.
2nd and 30, ball placed at the 6-yard line. 5 wide receivers set, just one back behind Beal. And multiple flags pop up for the first time tonight already.
Yeah, and it looked like there was some early movement from the Fratmen, so this is indeed going to be the indication. You'll see Brent Webster give us the false start.
Illegal procedure. Number 63, St. Clair, 5-yard penalty, replay 2nd down.
Yeah, and so far, all Hamilton has shown is straight vanilla. Looks like cover one, safety staying deep, man across the board. If that's the formula that Hamilton, now again, like you said, Justin, both teams are set and locked into their place. So from a positional standpoint, there's nothing to gain or lose with a win or a loss. However, Hamilton might not want to show too much. So they might just say, hey, we're going to go straight man, play vanilla, and hopefully not show our opponent next week anything.
So 2nd and 8 now. Ball placed to the 11, just past 2.5 minutes in. An error quick play, an error quick grab, an error quick whistle. Hayes Williams again, a quick little curl for the catch.
Yeah, and it's just man on man, and he's just saying to himself, look, I'm better than you, and that was thrown, and it looks like it's a first down just inside the 2-yard line. Well thrown. The ball was actually out before Jared made his break, and he was able to secure the ball, and now they're set up 1st and goal at the 1.5-yard line.
1st and goal for the first time tonight. Ball placed at the 2-yard line. 3 minutes into play here on We Digital. Justin Prince Mediquas with you. Beal setting up with an I formation. 4 wide receiver set. Lewis in the motion. Handing things off to the outside. Quick cut. Simone, touchdown. Fratmen.
And that there, Justin, now is a record. Jacob Savoni needed 1 touchdown to put a Fratmen scoring record in play, and this is just straight off tackle, and you knew who was getting the ball. It was straight lead off tackle. They had a fullback leading up the field, and Jacob Savoni is a man amongst boys this year, the way he's running the ball, and congratulations to that young man on setting a team record.
That is scoring touchdown number 15 on the ground, and a chance for another record coming up here on the extra point. Jake Holloway, with 49 converts coming in, has now broken the OFC record. Last set in 1984. He is now the OFC leader in converts.
and probably the first and second of several this game, because as you mentioned in the opener, there are some individual records to be had, and I know that the players want to get some records and the coaches want to make sure that their players do get the continued successes that they've had. Getting that early lead is important, making sure that you do secure, and again, and no one wants to ever lose, and if you can have an undefeated season, great, roll into the playoffs with that as well.
And to showcase the dominance for Savoni, you mentioned the scoring record. When it comes to the rushing touchdown record, he is now 2 away from tying the OFC record, 3 from passing it, with a record that was last set in 1977. But Hallway setting things up for the kickoff. Fratmen leads 7-0 with 11:44 to go in the first quarter. Tournament now set back up for the Hurricanes. Off and away. This one bounces at the 10-yard line. Brought across the 15. Juking into some open space. Trying to loop back. Brought down quickly. That is Lord Anto with the return. Decent field position to start for the Hurricanes.
Love that kick. You get that ball bouncing outside the numbers, and the return man has to sort of wait for it to bounce up to him. He ends up running close to 30 yards, but he turns sideways right around the 17-yard line and doesn't pick up much more after that because he's met by a couple Fratmen who square him up, and now the Hamilton Hurricanes are going to be set at their own 23-yard line. So they only picked up about 17 yards on that return.
This offense led by Ethan Beldeck, who comes into tonight with 13 TDs, 12 interceptions. Completion percentage just above 50% with 1,290 passing yards. Passing on 1st and 10, starting things off with an incompletion. Broken up that time from Billy Patterson, who has stepped up defensively the second half of the season.
Yeah, that throw was a little bit weak to that outside. Fortunately, actually, because I think if it was up, Billy might have been able to step in front of that. He had a pretty good break on that. Quarterback needs to get that out a lot quicker. The receiver cannot be just turning into his break when that ball. He has to be completely driving still so that way the DB does not react to it. So that ball has to be out a little sooner if they expect to put some pressure on the corners for the Fratmen.
In regards to Patterson, 8 tackles entering tonight, along with being tied for 3rd with interceptions at 4, and that will be the end of the play clock. First time tonight. We see flags popping up.
Time count penalty.
Play clock.
Hamilton. Repeat, 2nd down.
Yeah, and that's on the quarterback at all times. Now, there could have been maybe a late signal from the sideline, not getting the play call in quite a bit, but you're in game 8. You should not have a time count violation at this point in time. You should be in and out of your break much more quickly at this point in the year. This is a veteran crew here. Quarterback needs to get them out and set so they can make any adjustments at the line without having to expire that play clock.
One receiver cutting hard to the outside, 6 on the play clock. Once again, looking to pass, forced to step up. Beldeck looking to scramble, hit hard by several Fratmen.
And it looked like they wanted to try to set up some sort of bubble screen to what was the field side, but he had to double clutch because it was taken away. And then the linebackers converged on him, and that was nowhere to go on that point in time. That was excellent tackle by 34 and 44, and that is Connor Sykes and Braden McDougall. And you can expect both of those guys to make a bunch of tackles today because they're both outstanding linebackers.
When it comes to McDougall, keep in mind 15 tackles entering tonight and an error flag coming up. Second this drive now.
Yeah, see, and I saw that right away. The referees have a little signal when they know there's too many men on the field or in a huddle. In this case scenario,
13 members in the huddle against Hamilton. 5-yard penalty. Replay 3rd down.
Probably have to punt with the kicker nearer the goalpost. So now the safety comes into play. Is Hamilton going to possibly concede?
And we'll see how this plays out here. It looks like ball will stay at the same spot. They bring that extra player now out of the huddle. 3rd and 19, approaching 10 minutes to go in the first quarter already. Fratmen up 7-0. This time to punt is Fernandez Brown. And this time the punt goes all the way back to the end of the end zone. Fernandez Brown forced to kneel it down, and that was a disaster. That's a safety.
That might have been the plan all along. I'm not 100% sure. A lot of the times this early in the game, Canadian football, they will concede it. But the punter had no chance. This ball sailed right over his head. Like, it was literally 3 feet over his head. He just had to make sure he got to the ball so that it's not recovered by the Fratmen, giving up a touchdown. So he concedes it. Easy enough. And as it turns out, we're seeing the Fratmen elect to force Hamilton to kick off, which is going to set up the return for the Fratmen. The kick will be from the 35-yard line after a safety rather than the 45-yard line. So I expect the Fratmen, if they handle this kickoff cleanly, to probably be close to the 45, 50-yard line with a half-decent return.
And part of the reason, here's how to think of this too. When it comes to kickoffs from Fernandez Brown, he's averaged about 55.4 gross. The thing is, though, on the net yardage, the average has been 40.6. That's a net of about 15 yards picked up per return on the kickoffs this season, when Fernandez Brown has been the one booting the ball.
Yeah, and they've only played the Fratmen the one time earlier in the season, and the Fratmen have the most explosive athletes at the return spots in the whole conference, so you can expect them to add to that number with this ensuing kick.
We'll see if that indeed comes true. This one returned from about the 20. Lewis taking his time, finds a hole, spins through the hole, brought down at about the 40-yard line. And that's a net gain of about 20 yards. That comes right into play right there.
Yeah, and nice job. He caught it in the air. He was able to just work his way straight up the field. Anytime you can get a first down type on a punt, great. On a kickoff, if you can get maybe 15 to 20, those are easy. If you can get 25 to 30, you're way ahead of the game. And you'll see here on the replay, Dante Lewis does find the ball right around the 21-yard line, and he just goes straight forward. I like the fact that once he saw a seam he liked, he exploited it, and he ran through a potential tackle.
That's the reason Lewis is amongst those who has scored 3 times on returns this season. Starting things off the ground, nowhere to go. Savoni tackled right at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, some sort of miscommunication with the offensive line. I do not think they really were designing that to have a linebacker scrape over the top unblocked whatsoever. Savoni could not really get started as hands touched him in the backfield, limiting that to maybe a half-yard gain.
Second and 9 is the ruling. Ball placed at the 41-yard line, approaching halfway to the first quarter. Down the play clock. Once again, Beal under center. Looking to pass. Off his back foot, incomplete at the center logo. Intended for Cody Holmes that time. And that will bring out the special teams unit.
Yeah, and there was some pressure. It looked like it was number 50 who forced that early, so Michael was unable to actually step into that throw, and it sailed behind him. And it looked like that was Sebastian Godfredson who made the pressure. They did a little bit of a twist up front. The lineman drove inside, and the linebacker was able to loop back underneath the offensive tackle right into the B-seam and forcing that early and errant throw from Michael Beal.
First incompletion for Beal on the 9. Back to punt. Hallway. Hallway with the decent punt this time. Picked up just around the 33. Brought quickly to the sideline. Hard hit. Jones hit hard by the Fratmen.
What an outstanding open field tackle by number 23, and that Enzi Uyite. And he made an absolutely perfect form tackle from a safety position here. You'll see that the ball's kicked, and he works up the sideline, and he squares him up, runs his feet, wraps him up, and brings him down. That is a safe tackle on all parties. Head was up the entire time. What a tremendous play.
You'd say you're referring to indeed has been very explosive defensively of parts of this season. The ball placed at the 41-yard line. Just past 8:30 to go. First and 10 on the ground. Quickly tackled for a gain of a couple. This time on the rush, brought on forward by Caden Williams for a gain of a couple.
And this is what I would expect from Hamilton more so than what we saw in the first couple where they tried to throw the ball. Hamilton usually wants to play bully ball up front, and their offensive line doesn't look as big as they traditionally have been in the past, but they've always wanted to just run the ball straight at the teeth of the defense. In the first quarter, second quarter might not look as good, but by the fourth quarter, those runs turn into bigger gains.
Second and 8. Looking to pass. Here comes the pressure. Alex with the sack. Here comes the additional help.
right, that's as much a coverage sack as it is a pressure sack. Quarterback had no choice. He looked right away, but the pressure got to him, and as soon as he tried to step up, there was blanket coverage around there. What a tremendous defensive set by that force unit and married with the back end. Quarterback had nowhere to go with it. That is not on the quarterback whatsoever. The safest thing for him to do was to eat it just like that, as opposed to maybe giving up an interception. And in this case, he protected the ball and didn't give up a fumble either.
Some of the young fans are now dancing in the stands after that one. That makes it 3rd and 15, approaching 7 minutes to go in the first quarter. Punt it away this time, the Hurricanes from about the 20. Decent coverage. Bounces just past the 50. Returned around the 40. Lewis cutting right. Flags are up. Lewis running towards the house. Breaks past the punter. The punter leaps down to hold up Lewis. But a flag was down around the spot of the return.
I'd like to see this again. I think they're going to call a push in the rear here. And I don't know if it was necessary, if we get a good angle from our replay, but here's the official call.
Illegal block. Number 42, St. Clair, 10-yard penalty. Yeah. It'll be a first down, St. Clair.
So you got to push in the rear, and if we can sort of pinpoint it, I thought I heard them say number 44, which is Braden McDougall. Now, I know they set up the return here, and we'll just sort of see at the top of the screen as he turns it up, and there it is right there. It was indeed. It was actually number 35 who made the block in the back. It wasn't even needed because I don't think that guy was going to make the play, and that's number 35. Kezion McKenzie, who had that push in the rear. 100% the right call, but that block was not even close to needed.
So instead of that return leading to a drive starting inside the 40. This time it starts around the 30. Savoni picking up a lot of those yards back, brought down around the 50.
Well, we do have a flag down, but I think this is an offside against Hamilton. It looked like one of the guys was lined up in the neutral zone, at least from my vantage point, Justin, but we're going to get the call here because that flag came out right away, and that is indeed the indication. So they're going to decline that and take what looked like about a 30-yard run.
And yes, indeed, it is confirmed to be declined.
Number 52, Blue. That penalty's declined. Result is a first down.
So Savoni picks up 30. Here's a look at it.
What a nice run by Savoni. I like the fact that he pressed the hole first. He got through the line of scrimmage, got the 2-3 yards, and then when he saw the opening to the outer seam, he exploited it and picked it up and got near midfield.
6:20 to go for 1st and 10 of the 52. 9-0 Fratmen. A rush back to Savoni. Across midfield, Savoni brought down around the 50-yard line. Couple of yards shy of the sticks.
Yeah, a nice power run here. Sometimes you think of a counter as one of those developing plays, letting the defense get out of position. But I know Coach LaChance likes to get his linemen moving a little bit, and they were just able to push that pile and collapse the one side completely. And you pick up 8 yards on a counter play like that. It looked more like a power play, but either way, 2nd down and 2, and you're way ahead of the sticks at this point in time.
Keep in mind, Savoni entered tonight 3rd in the CJFL in rushing yards. He needed 134 to move to 2nd place. Beal, meanwhile, looks to pass. An open man. Complete. Touchdown, Fratmen, Cody Holmes.
Yeah, and that there is just simple man beater. Cody Holmes is man from the slot, and Michael Beal did a token play action, but he knew he was going to right off the get-go because the safety was flat-footed at 15 yards, and the halfback was trying to cover maybe the best receiver in the country. That is an unbelievable mismatch, and Michael Beal's going to exploit that all game long.
9th receiving touchdown for Holmes this season. And oh, by the way, he came in tonight 56 yards back of becoming the leader in the CGFL receiving yards. He just picked up 50 in one go. He's now just 6 yards away from becoming the top receiver this year in the CGFL. And he's now also just 1 away from tying that mark in TD touchdowns. 15-0. Make it 16-0 Fratmen with the extra point.
Yeah, and a lot of these records, a lot of these yards, Jacob Savoni does not have a high volume of carries this year. You can only imagine if some of the games they played earlier in the year, he got more carries where he
5-yard penalty
same
will be
thing, and we
applied
do
on
have a
the
penalty
kickoff.
that's going to be forced on the kickoff, so the Fratmen are going to get moved up for this next kick. But that being said, Cody Holmes, like fourth quarter of games, there were points where he was not playing very many snaps by the time the fourth quarter came around, and quite frankly, he's going to do this on what I would honestly say amounts to maybe 70-75% of the snaps over the course of a season. So he is a class act in this league, and obviously in this country. He's a tremendous athlete, and that just showed it. He just ran up the seam, and no one was 10 yards near him.
Kick Holloway now sets things back up. Last week against GTA, he had a 93-yard kickoff that ended up becoming the third longest in the history of the CGFL, second longest in OFC history. How things fare for this kickoff from the 50. Well, return from about the 5. Trying to find space, the Hurricanes. Juking along, speeding around. Brought down in to see a tacklers around the 20-25-yard line this time is Anto.
Yeah, great coverage. The Fratmen maintained their lane integrity all the way around. The return man did not have really anywhere to go. I guess my only criticism would be I'm never a big fan of kicking it right between the numbers. But in this case, literally between the hashes. That was way too in the middle. It gives you too many ways to go should you have a wide return, some sort of reverse off of it. But that being said, outstanding coverage by the Fratmen.
So 16-0 St.Clair with about 5 minutes to go in the first quarter. 1st and 10 at the 23. This time handing things off, right into a sea of Fratmen.
Yeah, they tried a little trap. That's an old-school Fratmen type play that when I was playing and coaching here, they ran an awful lot. Reverse pivot, they tried to pull and kick, but the penetration was just way too fast. I know Coach Morency just loves sending heat, and on first down, I don't know if anyone does more run blitzes than Coach Morency, and he sent a run blitz, and they just couldn't account for all the penetration there, and that was dead right off the hop with a 2-yard loss.
So 2nd and 12 now at the 21-yard line. 5 wide receivers set, 1 running back, 4 in the motion, looking to pass. Beldeck going short, deflected, incomplete. Off the hands this time of Marcus Jones. That makes it 3rd and long with 4:22 to go in the quarter.
Yeah, a little bit of a cleaner pocket for the quarterback. Didn't put a really good pass on. I don't think it would have got the yardage anyway. Fratmen did a really, really nice job of playing. It looked more like a cover 4 because there were 4 guys deep across, and that crossing route, should he have caught that, he would have 2-3 guys converging to make the tackle. Probably would have come up several yards short. Needless to say, it's still 3rd down and long in a punting situation for the visitors.
So once again, Fernandez Brown back out to punt. This season, 19 attempts entering tonight with 533 yards. However, the gross yardage, 28.1. Right now, the Fratmen setting up the return men just around that mark. This time, heading up, retreating back to the end zone, and they'll concede some more points there. And our safety, 2nd of the night.
Yeah, because bottom line is you kick that off, and you already said they have some coverage issues because the net yards hasn't been that great. If they would have got a net gain there, it would have only ended up being at around their own 40-yard line or so. So give up the 2 points. It still is early. You're not completely out of it, even though you're already down 18-0. Try to flip the field position. You're not likely going to get a long drive against this Fratmen defense. There's too much pressure. So give up the field position here, gain the field position, I should say, and try to have your defense force a 2-and-out.
As you see up on the scoreboard here at Acumen Stadium, 18-0 with 4:03 to go in the first quarter. Both teams have both their timeouts.
Yeah, pretty plain Jane scoreboard today. Last week there was webs all over it, jack-o'-lanterns and everything. It was Halloween.
A lot of creativity for that night of action here at Acumen Stadium. We'll see how this kickoff now fares. Again, the Fratmen forcing them to kick off after a second safety. Lewis sets up around the 25. Lewis with some space. Cutting towards the right. Leaping off some Hurricanes. Shedding his way out of a couple more. Brought down at about the 52, 53-yard line. Another return. Brought close to center field.
Yeah, and for some reason they're insisting on kicking towards Dante Lewis the entire time. I think I would challenge Marcus Cooper. Dante Lewis had a great year returning the ball all year long, so they're just forcing it to him, and he's making them pay right now as this ball is now at the 53-yard line. And don't be surprised if Coach LaChance, if he sees this man coverage again, he picks, whether it's Dante or Jared or Cody again, up the seam. I would not be surprised because they're getting mismatches all over the place. There's another one here again if he wants it.
4 wide receivers set for the pass. Quickly to Holmes. Holmes knocked on back, and that will be close to the CJFL lead.
Yeah, it's about a 4-yard gain, so he might be a couple short. I think there was a mistake here by the number 1 receiver on the outside. That was Jared Hayes-Williams. I think he should have driven his route a little bit more to the sideline. It was his defender who came off and made the tackle. My guess is they're trying to run a hook to Cody and say, hey, make your guy miss. But it wasn't his guy who made the tackle. It was actually the number 1 defender who was covering down on Jared Hayes-Williams.
So it is indeed a 4-yard pickup. 2 yards away, Holmes is from leading in receiving yards this season. Savoni, meanwhile, charges ahead. That's enough for a first down for St. Clair.
Yeah, and he's getting ahead of steam going downhill here. A couple down blocks, they get a pull and a kick, and then the wheel up the field. And this is just, he's not getting touched for 5 or 6 yards, and you get a talented running back with that much room, he's going to make you pay all game long. As we do have an injured player on the field, that's number 52 for the visitors, and his name is not necessarily...
Austin Hendry.
Okay, Austin Hendry. Wasn't on my original depth chart here, but
yep.
You never want to see that for anyone. It looks like he's going to be able to walk off under his own power, which is a good thing because going into the playoffs, both teams want to be healthy.
So one player quickly being substituted off as a result here with 2:41 to go in the first quarter. For those tuning in here on We Digital, it's 18-0 Fratmen. The last time these two teams played, it was a 47-7 victory for St. Clair over Hamilton, October 17th. Setting things up once more. 1st and 10 at the 45-yard line. 5 wide receivers set this time. 3 in the motion. Beal looking to pass. Quick. The dive from Lewis, this time incomplete.
Yeah, a little bit of pressure in the face of Michael Beal, and he was unable to actually get that out with the zip. I think he wanted to because he was falling off his back foot, and that resulted in just the weaker, wider throw for Dante Lewis. But he was open there. He had him on the out. If that ball was on, you would have probably had some room for Dante Lewis to work his way up the home sideline.
So 2nd and 10. Approaching 2 minutes to go in the first quarter. Play clock quickly down to 10. Again, 5 wide receivers set. Holmes setting up top once the motion. Looking to pass. Beal wants it all. Holmes again. Touchdown. Fratmen. And that is the lead for the receiving yards in the CJFL.
It's predetermined. I honestly think Michael Beal sees who's covering Cody Holmes, and he's like, I'm not looking anywhere else, and he's not. He's getting to the top of his drop, and he's letting it go. That's just too easy. Now, maybe Hamilton is really playing so vanilla that they don't want to show London anything next week. There is an argument for that. Strategy comes into play as you go, but that there was just too easy. Cody Holmes is too good of an athlete to be matched up like that. He should be bracketed. The safety's nowhere to be found. He ran right up the seam again, and that slot fade there is almost impossible to cover when you have such a great athlete like that.
The next touchdown would take the CJFL lead rounder for touchdowns as well in the season. That has just tied him on that mark. 25-0 Fratmen early. And a very strong start, let's put it that way, for St. Clair. The passing attack has been strong. Savoni has looked consistent. It's been difficult to stop that offensive onslaught early.
Well, yeah, it has been, but I don't think Hamilton has made it hard enough on them. Mm-hmm. Everything is straight cover one. I don't really see any kind of matchup coverage, bracketing, or any kind of deep zone, quarters, cover two, whatever it is. I'm not seeing any of that. So you're going to make it easy for athletes like Holmes, Dante Lewis, Jared Hayes-Williams, and especially when you have a talented quarterback like Michael Beal.
All set for the kickoff once more. Tournament set back up for Hamilton. This time return just around the 10-yard line, the far side. Once again, Anto finding some seams, breaking a couple tackles, knocked out around the 45-yard line.
Yeah, and there's some cause for concern because the containment was lost on the far sideline. So now this is something you do not want to see. So you want to make sure this is rectified because you never want to have momentum flip on you after you score. You'll see the return man, once he decides he's going up the sideline, there should be some force or some pressure from the outside, and there just wasn't any. And he was able to get all the way across the 40 to the 44-yard line, and the Hurricanes have some pretty good field position here.
And you see Ento hyped up on the sideline after that return. 1st and 10 to the 44. 90 seconds to go in the first quarter. 5 wide receiver set, 3 in the motion this time. Beldeck looking to pass, works quickly, bounced around and nearly intercepted right out of the hands of Uyute.
Yeah, and that was Enzi again who came up and he fought for the ball here. It was pretty good coverage, a decent ball in that it could have been caught, but in this case scenario, just a better defense than it was offense as the pass breakup ended up resulting in that incompletion.
That would have been the 16th interception for the Fratmen on the season if that was grabbed, by the way. London leads the OFC with 21. 2nd and 10. Approaching 1 minute to go. Looking to pass. Beldeck having to step up in the pocket. Here comes the pressure to the throw in the motion. Caught around the sideline, complete. That's enough for a first down. Jeremy Hicks on the reception.
Yeah, and you know what? It wasn't terrible coverage either. That was just a really nice play by the quarterback. He escaped some of the pressure, and it looked like it was 92. Is that Jordan Krug who was unable to bring him down on the pressure? And then a nice help route from his receiver who came back towards him, working to the sideline that he was rolling out to, and they converted it moving into the Fratman territory for the first time this evening.
Ball spotted at the 54-yard line. Few plays left in the quarter, and Hamilton elects to take a timeout.
Yeah, and you know what? So some people will be like, why are you taking a timeout? You're down 25-0. Yes, there was 7 or 8 seconds left on that play clock, but he must have seen something he liked on the defense. And it's the first time you're breaching the offensive zone. So you better get the right play call in because this drive has to result in points if you are going to stay in this game. You have to get points on this drive.
So with 40 seconds remaining, the first timeout from either side has now been used in this first half. The bright side for some of the Hurricanes, you see some of them looking to say hello to the fans watching from the Hamilton region here tonight.
Yeah, and I'm sure some of the players have some team records of their own and some maybe individual records that they want to eclipse for the season. So you can expect some of them to want to perform well here in the season finale. I'm sure all-star voting and all the stats and all the league leaders will be determined and finalized obviously after this game, but they want to have some successes too.
1st and 10, looking to pass. Beldeck going short, complete. Trying to find space. Marcus Hojo finding a lot of space down the sideline. Knocked out of bounds around the 25.
And that was a missed tackle. That is conceded. I know Coach Morency, Coach Norton in the back end. They'll give up that short little under route expecting to make the tackle. But that looked like, was that number 30, Jake Holloway, who came in and maybe missed that tackle?
Possibly.
Not sure, because I know he spent some time at safety. But either way, that was a missed tackle that resulted in a big gain, and now you're approaching that magical red zone if you're the Hurricanes.
To answer the question, yes, he is playing safety currently. Right at the very top, now moving up towards the line with several in the motion. Looking to pass again towards the end zone. And that draws flags. Pass interference.
Yeah, I think actually the receiver was the beneficiary of a bad throw there because the throw was underthrown. And the receiver stopped, and the DB had no choice pretty much but to run into him.
But it's going to be interesting if it's going to be offensive or defensive pass interference here.
It's going to be defense. There's no
St.Clair,
no
number 17,
about it. It's defensive
15-yard
interference.
foul, first down, Hamilton.
It'll be an automatic first down, and it'll go half the distance, and you'll probably have it around the 11 or 12-yard line. And they're marking it, it looks like at the 11-yard line. So they still have a chance to get a first down and keep this drive going, but either way, they are definitely in the scoring zone, and they need points here to keep this game in reach.
1st and goal. 8 seconds to go in the first quarter. Hamilton with a chance to break through on the scoreboard here.
And as you said, it is and goal. They actually marked it at the 9, so it is inside the 10.
Three in the motion. Beldeck looking to pass. Same area this time. All out of play to make it 2nd and goal.
Yeah, good play by the defensive back here, Billy Patterson Jr. He didn't bite too hard on that out, and they were trying to do a little out and up, and the receiver was just so slow out of his break, he had no chance to get over the top, so that was going to fall incomplete regardless.
And you see the horns blowing throughout the backdrop. This will be the last play of the quarter. 2nd and goal. Beldeck making his way up the line. 2 backs behind him. 4 wide receiver set. Taking the handoff. Beldeck with a lot of pressure. Finding a seam. Breaking on forward. The dive to the end zone. Touchdown, Hamilton. Williams with the reception. Williams with the dive. And Hamilton's on the board.
Yeah, and they were taking advantage of the pressure that I know Coach Morency was going to bring. He brought an extra man off both edges, and they just ran a little bit of a middle screen. And you make one guy miss right there, and you reach out for it, and that is indeed a touchdown as the ball broke the plane. And that puts the Hurricanes on the board here, so they're not completely shut out in this opening quarter.
Extra point has a chance to reduce the gap to 25-7 here for the end of this first quarter. So first extra point attempt of the night. They are perfect this season. Fernandez Brown in particular is for the extra point opportunities this season. Kick is up. 25-7. Now the score after 15 minutes of play here on We Digital. More OFC action coming up for the start of the second quarter in just a few moments. You're watching We Digital from Acumen Stadium.
Did you know that the most severe injuries in our region are motor vehicle crashes? 65% of road fatalities last year were directly the result of distracted driving. 90% of injuries arriving in our emergency rooms are preventable. Our message to you this summer is, put down the phone. Just drive. Let's work together to keep our trauma stretchers empty.
You're looking at the scoreboard here at Acumen Stadium. 25-7 St. Clair over Hamilton after 15 minutes of play. Justin Prince-Pediquas with you on We Digital. After a very dominant offensive start from St. Clair, the Hurricanes able to break through on the scoreboard to end off the first quarter, though, with a quick drive and a quick dive to be able to score. 2nd and goal. Kickoff off and away to start off the second quarter of play. And it's bobbled and dropped. Lewis picks it back up. Lewis trying to break ahead. Still gets up to about the 30.
Yeah, fortunately for the Fratmen, they were able to recover that and still have half-decent field position. But those are the concentration things you do not want to see, the lack of concentration for that. Dante Lewis is tremendous. He is very handsy. He catches that ball cleanly. You'd like to see him make sure he secures that, and likely would have got probably to the 40 because he's had some pretty good returns early. But I guess they did end up with the ball with half-decent field position.
So the clock now rolls for the first offensive play of the second quarter. Fratmen setting up with 2 backs in the backfield here. 4 wide receiver set. Beal hands things off to Savoni. Savoni trying to go all the way to the right. Savoni pushing off some Hurricanes. Savoni breaking a couple more as he gets out of bounds just past center field.
This young man has been impressing me now for weeks, and this is just a straight kick out. Offensive guard wheels across, does that wham block. The fullback leads up, picks up the linebacker. Savoni's always going to make the first guy miss, and he just carries guys for 5, 6, 7, 8 more yards, and he turns that into another 30-yard run.
Remember that 134 yards needed to move to second place this season in the CGFL. He's getting close to that with some of these runs so far tonight. Let's put it that way. Again, I-form, extra blocker moves up to the line. Savoni again, this time up the middle. Savoni knocked down around the 45. That may be second and about 1.
Yeah, I think Jacob ran into one of his lead blockers there on this, and that almost tripped him up as much because he just got right back behind it. Yeah, he ran right into David Riem. his lead blocker, the fullback, and it's a good sign if you're an offensive unit when you're the first guy who touches it is the lead blocker 8 yards down the field and brings up that second down, and they're giving him 9, so second and 1.
So 2nd and 1, indeed it is. Ball placed at the 44-yard line. And 30 seconds now into this second quarter here on We Digital. Looking to pass. Beal through some traffic, incomplete, intended for Hayes Williams.
And that time, for the first time in a while, they played a little bit of a different coverage. They had 2 high safeties over the top, and now that gave you 4 underneath, so it looked like a little bit of a cover 2 man or cover 2 zone underneath it. And now the corner, who was squatting from the outside, was able to break on that play, and that looked like it was number 25.
That would be Blake Williams. And now the offense stays on the field. So far this season, 5 times the Fratmen have failed for a turnover on downs in this situation. 9 have been forced by Hamilton. Savoni ends up keeping it on forward and keeps the drive alive.
It's a pretty nice luxury when you know you have some big bodies up front and you have a horse like Jacob Savoni on the backside of that who's going to usually fall forward easily for 3 or 4 yards, and you only needed the 1, and he picked up about 7 more there. He's had a couple long runs already. He's probably getting close to that 80, 90-yard rushing already in this first half because he's had at least 2 30-yarders already. So I expect him to eclipse 100 yards. Whether he gets to that 134, we'll see, because you don't want to use him too much or run the risk of injury.
1st and 10, ball at the 38-yard line. A quick throw behind Savoni. Savoni trying to find some space, shedding some tackles, juking out a couple more, brought down around the 35-yard line.
Yeah, Justin, that's going to go down as a run because that was clearly a backwards pass, and
for the lateral,
Jacob Savoni did a lot of that on his own. You'll see they're trying to get him in space, and he is so fast and shifty, so he outruns the guy to the edge, but then he has to high step past one guy. Now all the flow's coming. He jump cuts back to the inside and works his way up back to the sideline and still picks up about 4 yards. Now, he ran about 25 there, but he turned nothing into something. Good job by Jacob Savoni.
2nd and 6 now at the 34-yard line. Approaching 4 minutes into play. Second quarter. High formation again. This time, Beal looking to throw. Beal on the motion. Beal wants it all again. Another dive. And this time incomplete again, intended for Lewis on the dive jump.
Yeah, and this was a little bit of a play action, and they're going to do a little out and up from Dante Lewis, and he had him. And Beal puts air underneath it. It was fractionally outside of his reach. I say fractionally because it was literally on his fingertips. It required an unbelievable catch again. And great play design, right idea. Looks like they're going to try to bring out the field goal unit here and get some reps here with a long field goal. Because as you get into the playoffs, your opponents are going to get better, and you never know when the mechanics of this are going to come into play here. You want to execute this, whether you make or miss. You make, great. You miss, you better cover this properly, because these are the kind of things that shift momentum and steal playoff victories away from you.
Hallway entered tonight with his longest field goal made being just 30 yards. This for 41. Hallway, the big boot. And that is a new season high. 5 for 7 now in the campaign.
And that's exactly what you want to see. You want to know your range. Okay, so 41 pretty comfortably, probably good for him. I would say at least comfortably close to 50, because that was right through the middle of the uprights and the ball landed 17 yards deep. But you had a good snap, good hold, good transition through the kick, no penetration. The blocks were perfect. So now the only question is going to be where we're scrimmaging from, and it looks like Hamilton's electing to put their offense on the field here after the made field goal.
So 28-7 now with 11:04 to go in the first half. As mentioned, Hallway now with a season long 41 yards on the make. So see how Hamilton bounces back here, now trailing by 3 touchdowns on the 3 extra points. Clock now rolls. 7 on the play clock. Beldeck taking his time. Down to 2. Gets the snap off. Quick play action. Quick throw off his back foot. Caught on the screen. Looking for some space this time. Picking up a few, Williams.
And thankfully, Braden McDougall was able to sniff that out. The edge rushers went all the way through and did not even sense that they were giving up a little screen play here. But Braden McDougall was able to fight through the initial blocker and make the tackle to limit that to only a 7-yard gain, because had he gone to the sideline, he probably would have started approaching midfield because the nearest defender wasn't going to get to him until about the 50-yard line. So that was a really good job by the linebacker, not even allowing the first down.
The young fans are dancing in the stands still, even with their tablets for tonight. 2nd and 3, 10 minutes to go in the first half. Hamilton throws it, and incomplete for Valdek.
Yeah, and that time he got confused because he was expecting a ton of pressure, and the Fratmen brought 5, but that's not pressure by all intent and purposes from Coach Morenzi's side. He likes to bring 6 or 7, and they had coverage under and over top of that. He's lucky that was not picked off, and that's going to bring in the punting unit.
So another punt coming up as you see some of the discussions. And the head coach for this program is Jason Hayes, with the offensive coordinator. What's those having some of the discussions? It's going to be interesting how the rest of this game now plays, though. Another punt being set up. Return set up at about the 30. Back to punt again, Fernandez Brown. The wind calming down as the night has gone on. This time, it bounces through some traffic. Picked up just around the 35. First return from Cooper. Cooper brought down around the 38-39 line.
All right, all things considered, that was fair on both sides. A decent enough kick. Covered was pretty good. The ball was clearly short. I don't think Marcus Cooper had a chance to really get this in the air as there was some traffic coming into play here. He was able to get it on that second bounce. And then after that, he was able to at least pick up about 7 or 8 yards after his retrieving the ball at the 30-yard line. So not too bad either way.
And a couple Hurricanes there, too. You've seen in the initial tackle attempt actually collided with one another.
Yeah, because they're going down full steam ahead.
1st and 10 now at the 39-yard line. About 9 minutes to go in the first half. This time starting off with a ground game. Nowhere to go this time.
Yeah, and this time around they tried to do a little bit of a misdirection from the sense of the wham block was coming from the left with the offensive lineman leading. But a little bit of penetration at the point of attack, and then number 50 came in to clean up the mess, and that was Sebastian Gottfriedson again.
Muncels providing a lot of pressure. He entered tonight with 22 tackles and 1 sack. It's been interesting to keep an eye on how that defensive line play has been. Now it's 2nd and 11. Ball at the 38-yard line. Plenty of time in the play clock. Beal making some adjustments. He sends Savoni out to the outside. Down to 2, looking to pass. Beal throwing it deep again towards Holmes. Incomplete. No flags down. That's 3rd and 10.
Yeah, and Michael thought that he was going to get that man coverage again across the board in this time, and why not throw it up to your number 1 guy? But they came off of that coverage and they went into cover 4, and it looked like if he actually just checked down a little bit, Jacob Savoni was standing by himself around the midfield, he would have gotten the ball to him. Boy, he's a natural runner in space. He would have had a ton of room. And I know Coach LaChance is saying, yeah, I get it. You're going to your horse. No problem with that. But you could have came off of that, and you could have hit that under route, and that would have been a big gainer as well.
So that brings Hallway back out to punt once more. Hallway. That's a lot of pressure. Hamilton looking to break through. A couple nearly got there. This time picked up. Decent space for Jones. Flags are up. Jones brought down around the 45, but again, a flag is down at the 25.
Yeah, and when the running back or the return man hesitates a little bit, then makes a speed cut, sometimes you put your blockers in a vulnerable situation when they're going to end up pushing from behind, and that's indeed what's going to happen. He's going to move this back.
Illegal block. Number 35, Hamilton. 10-yard penalty. It'll be 1st down, Hamilton.
Yeah, and you put your guy in a little bit of a vulnerable situation when you think you're going up the one seam and then you turn sideways completely. So this ball's probably going to start off around the 25-yard line, and that does indeed look like where the officials have now marked it.
Take a look now at the grandstands once more. The fans remain ever so pumped up with the 28-7 advantage for the Fratmen. About halfway to go in the second quarter now. Beldeck looking to move things forward from the 25 for 1st and 10. I formation. Two receivers in the motion. This time back to the ground game. Breaking through a couple tacklers. Brought down around the line of scrimmage again.
Yeah, the problem is he had to break through tacklers in the backfield, and he was able to spin out of one tackle and then was able to get back to the line of scrimmage, but nonetheless, that was an absolute mess for the offensive line because there was all white jerseys at the point of attack there, which led to maybe a half-yard gain. I guess the official stats guy's giving him a yard there.
Yeah.
But that was good run defense by the St.Clair Fratmen.
London Dawson amongst those who led the charge defensively at the line. 2nd and 9. Beldeck with the running back behind. Looking to pass. Lots of pressure. The sack. This time, Sykes brings him on down. That's 3rd and long.
Yeah, and Belbreck had no choice here. He was looking to his right. He saw pressure. He spun out of that and right into the waiting hands of Connor Sykes. And that is just not fair. It was not an all-out blitz. That was a controlled package. It looked like the ends just were staying nice and wide and going to force Belbreck into the pocket there. Great coverage on the back end. Now they're going to have to punt, likely again, standing near their own goal line. So I suspect you're going to see another safety conceded here, but you never know.
See if that ends up being the situation. The return men are set up at around the 50 again. Once again, Brandon Brown will indeed concede the safety. 3rd safety given up by the Hurricanes tonight. 30-7 now with 6:02 to go in the first half.
And now let's see what Coach LaChance opts to do this time. It does look like he's bringing out the return team once again, so he's going to force Hamilton to cover the kick. And he's trusting that his return guys are going to get it. And as you see, Beal and Cody Holmes are talking there, and I'm sure they're working out something on the sideline saying, and there's Jared Hayes-Williams. They're just like, okay, if we see this, we're going to do this. Option sort of routes. You see the guy high, squat. You see the guy press, go. Whatever they're talking about, they're trying to hammer out the best situation for this next offensive series.
You see the Hurricanes sideline discussing things as the return men again of Cooper and Lewis set things on up. Just about all set to kick things back away. 30-7. St. Clair now over Hamilton. Here in the final game of OFC regular season play. Fernandez Brown taking his time for this kick. Off and away. Followed again by Lewis, picked up at the 25. Lewis, stiff arm hard at about the 35.
Yeah, he was met, and he turned sideways, and that's probably an area where you're exposed a little bit as the tackle came from number 58, Brian Mann. And you'll see, okay, I don't consider this too much of a bobble. He worked hard towards the get it. He negated any kind of bounce. But as he started going, he got met right away, and that was a nice tackle in the open field, and that negated any kind of big return. I think he picked up 7 yards on that, so good coverage from the kickoff unit there. Because the Fratmen could have had the ball right there if they opted to take the ball after the safety.
Exactly. So 1st and 10, now at the 36. 3 receivers on the motion. This time the jet sweep. Push on ahead. Couple yards picked up from Dante Lewis. 2nd and 9.
Yeah, a little bit too much traffic for my liking on that. I'm not sure if there was as much push as he wanted. Looked like there was a receiver late, and I'm not sure what. And it looks like it was number 88 for the Fratmen, and that is 89, maybe Tristan Rutherford.
Yes.
And it looked like he was just sort of in the way. He was late to execute, and it just brought a little bit too much traffic for Dante Lewis.
2nd and 9, now at the 37. Beal looking to throw this time. Open coverage for Hayes-Williams. Hayes-Williams steps out of bounds around the 53. That's enough to get a first down for the Fratmen.
That's exactly what he should have done the last time around. Now that they're playing some combination coverages and they're having some over-the-top help, you can throw those little checkdowns. And in this case, that's an easy pitch and catch. Jared Hayes stopped right on a dime, 7 yards down the field. Ball was on target, easily converting the first down.
Amongst those now being swapped out here, Rutherford being swapped for David Riem here. So that makes it now Two-back set for 1st and 10 to the 52. 4 wide receivers set up, 2 in the motion. Beal looking to throw to Hayes Williams again. Hayes Williams has it up for a 1st down. Dives his way to the 40. To the 35, in fact, just about.
Again, nice little adjustment, nice little wrinkle. There's the cat and mouse here. We're going to play action. We're going to pick up the play action. You're going to run off deep with the likes of Cody Holmes and Dante Lewis, and then you're going to get the ball into another playmaker's hands, and an offensive lineman is down the field throwing an extra block. Jared Hayes Williams runs real hard, and before you know it, it amounts into a 20-yard gain. You just threw 2 simple line of scrimmage type passes, and you just picked up 40 yards.
So it's 1st and 10 now at the 40, as there is a little bit of a delay here in regards to the chains.
Yeah, the sticks got ran over by the tacklers. And sometimes the links come off.
Coming up, halftime report with Don Papa. Be sure to tune in here on We Digital, here on this one. Ready to go, under 4 minutes to go in the first half of play. I formation once more. 3 receivers set up from the left. Savoni cuts out, quick throw. That one a bit back for Holmes. Holmes trying to cut to the sideline. Knocked out of bounds. That may be short of the sticks, however. That may be 2nd and short.
Yeah, and just a little bubble here, and he knows he's going to him based on how deep the number 2 defender is on the Hurricanes, and then Cody Holmes just going to catch it and beeline right to the sideline. And that alignment there, I think they're seeing now. They'll get man coverage on the lone receiver on the opposite side. Don't be surprised if you see something to Marcus Cooper on the left side right now. It looks like you're going to have man coverage all by himself. The safety's got to rotate over to the trips. Don't be surprised if you see something over the top.
2nd and 4. Quickly, Lewis off the screen. Cuts his way through the seam. Lewis, one man to beat. To the corner. End zone. Touchdown, Fratmen.
Or throw the ball to a guy at the line of scrimmage and let your athletes make great plays, because Dante Lewis in the open field is a tremendous returner, and he does that. But I will say this, that is outstanding blocking as well, because you're able to get Cody Holmes out there making a block, you're able to get a lineman out there making a block, so you get this quick little hitch, and you get David Riem, you get Cody Holmes, and you get some linemen and Jared Hayes Williams. All of them made a block. Now, poor number 67 is working his way down the field as fast as he possibly can, and I know how that feels, being an offensive lineman. Mark Speller is running as fast as he possibly can, and all he can do is watch, but the effort was there. If his block was needed, he'd have been there to execute it. Nonetheless, another passing touchdown for the Frat.
And a chance to extend the lead to 30 here with this extra point attempt. Kick is up. And through the uprights and good, 37-7 with 3:18 to go in the first half of play.
Great little adjustment in the last half of this quarter. Coach Deschamps went deep, deep, deep. They had some success forcing Hamilton to come out of that cover 1, because they had a single safety high and they were man across the board, and they got torched. And then they were able to go into some cloud coverages, look like cover 4, cover 2, cover 4 man, some different things underneath. And then this time around, they just threw hitches, hooks, marched all the way down the field. And I think Dante Lewis was the benefactor of almost all of them, with the exception of one catch from Cody Holmes.
So setting things up once more for the kickoff, and at this point, keep in mind, Beal continues to extend further that team record for touchdowns, keep in mind, with all these big plays in the passing game tonight. And now, Hurricanes set things up for the return. Now a big boot from Hallway. This one bounces into the end zone. Picked up, Anto takes it out. Anto jukes a couple times. Gets tackled by the shoe tops at about the 12-13 yard line.
Yeah, and I'm not sure I like the decision. The 1 point isn't nearly as valuable as some field position here. And I think I would have liked him to maybe take a knee at the 5 yard line. Get out to the 5 yards deep into the end zone, because when you end up having a scrimmage from the 14, if you don't get a yard here, Justin, you're giving up 2 points again. So I'd rather give up the 1 and start at the 35.
Keep in mind, when it comes to the singles this season, the Fratmen have scored 14 of them this season. Second in the OFC, had a chance to approach records entering tonight on that mark. Feeling pressure, Belbeck quickly brought down, and now will lose Hamilton some quick yards on the sack.
Yeah, I did not take my eyes off the defensive secondary in this, and I know you're watching the replay from the pressure, but my eyes did not come off the defensive secondary. There was not a single receiver that was able to get any kind of separation from their coverage. And there's no way you can't throw the ball, and the quarterback is now handcuffed. He has to sit in the pocket a lot longer, and he has to double clutch. And this aggressive defense, that's just leading into it. A receiver has to win somewhere on the field for you. If not, you're going to throw a pick, or you're going to get a forced fumble, or you're going to get sacked. And in this case, you might have to give up 2 more points again.
So it's 2nd and 14 from the 10-yard line. Quick pressure again, this time electing to run it. And brought forward for maybe a couple. That'll make it 3rd and long still.
Yeah, and at the bottom of that pile was Braden McDougall again, and you'll see him. He's going to come and he's going to get underneath one of the blockers, and he's going to fight his way to the tackle, and that was in concert with, I think, Connor Sykes again. So 34 and 44 were able to meet at the ball carrier and converge, and those 2 guys, we've already mentioned their names each a couple times, and I expect both of those guys to be the anchor to the defense as they hopefully make a very deep playoff run.
So now it's 3rd and 12. We are inside the 30-minute warning, by the way. So we approach 2 minutes to go in the 2nd quarter. And a chance for a potential safety situation yet again. This would extend it to 39-7. That's exactly what they do. And the lead continues to grow for St. Clair.
Yeah, and the field position is absolutely crippling the Hamilton Hurricanes. Hamilton has 7 points, yet they've conceded 8 in safeties. I believe that's their 4th safety of the game already. So now you're in a situation where, okay, you've given up 4 touchdowns, which is 28 points, but you've also given up a field goal and 8 more on those safeties. So the safeties alone are costing your offense the lead. And that's a concern for the coaching staff of the Hurricanes. Again, I don't know how much they're necessarily going to invest moving forward in this game because they have their sights set for London. And I don't want to look too far ahead, but they know they're going to London next week. So they want to tidy some things up here, but I know for sure they do not want to be pinned deep like that all game long.
And it's big to emphasize that some of their top players were among the scratches tonight, including their main return men who had scored a kick return touchdown, one of 3 to do so in the OFC this season in Stanley. Devontae Stanley in particular. Their main running back has not touched the ball tonight. The lead rusher when it comes to running backs. Bell back 2nd in the rushing yards in that total as well. Lewis, meanwhile, is trying to juke his way through some space again. Brought down at around the 47. And again, good field position off the kick return.
Yeah, nice little adjustment from Dante Lewis. I think he lost the ball initially. He went up for it, and then he stopped, and now, I better get up a little bit more. And then he finally found it again, caught the ball at the 35-yard line, was able to pick up about 12, 13 yards on the ensuing. If he could have broken that one tackle, he might have found himself a sideline to run up. But nonetheless, the Fratmen have great coverage again. And make no mistake, I know Coach Ashantz wants to put one more up here before the half here. He does not want to leave any doubt. So if he gets some of that press coverage, he'll take another shot. If not, you'll see those dunks and dinks and those hitches, and they'll just outspeed you from little short passes.
Minute 57 to work with. Starting things off for the ground game. Savoni breaks the first tackle, brought down by the second at about the 54-yard line. Picked up about 5 or 6.
Michael Beal does an empty hand fake, and they do a little bit of a draw there. And if it wasn't for number 55 for the visitors who came up and made that tackle, and there's Tyler Bevan, that would have went for a lot further. He made the saving tackle because he squatted and actually saw Savoni sitting a little deeper in the backfield. So he sniffed out that draw, negating it's only a 7-yard gain.
So 2nd and 4. Approaching 90 seconds to go in the first half. 3 receivers on the motion this time. Beal elects to throw it. Quick throw, incomplete. That makes it 3rd and medium.
Yeah, and from my vantage point, it looked like he was trying to force that one into Dante Lewis, and I think the better play was on the outside. And, yeah, the better play would have been on the outside. I think he had more room on either side. But nonetheless, Coach LaChance is leaving the offense on the field here at midfield, and he's going to try to convert this. Now, maybe they're just going to hard count and try to draw them offside and get a freebie here. And then if not, they take the penalty and they punt. We'll see.
Beal sets up under center. 2 backs behind. Holmes amongst those moving up. There's the backup. 6 on the play clock to work with. Now they shuffle the wide receivers again. And now they call the timeout.
Yeah, and that's the exact thing. They were just trying to draw him offside. Hamilton played disciplined, didn't take the bait. And now, what's the difference? You line up and you punt, or you stay go for it. You tried to get the free one. You didn't get the free one. And you use a timeout. You can't take them with you into the second half. So now it looks like Coach LaChance is going to keep the offense on the field as he's talking to Michael Beal. Maybe they know they were going for it all along, but they tried to steal a free one early.
So there's the discussion with Coach LaChance and company with his 39-7 advantage. Keep in mind, Hamilton, as mentioned, lost to London in a 30-2 loss on Halloween Day. That's seen them clinch the 3rd position in the OFC standings.
Like, I would like to see 2 play calls being sent in here. I would like to see some sort of counter run if you get the right numbers in the box. If you can run that counter to in this case, to the boundary side.
Yep.
All right? Running it towards the left. If you can overload to the right, maybe you get it. If not, if you get a numbers count to the field side, maybe you can get that quick little pass in.
So again, I formation, more bunched up. Holmes now moves back outside. 9 on the play clock. Again, they back up the receivers. This time they snap it. Savoni quickly brought around the line of scrimmage. Tries to speed away. Brought down the backfield, but a flag is down around Beal.
Yeah, and usually that's in the area of holding, and either way, he didn't get it. So I think this is going to be declined, and you're going to get the Hurricanes getting the ball. Here's the call.
Holding. Number 65, St. Clair.
Yeah, so
that
there's
penalty
the
is
hold. The penalty's declined. You get a
Hamilton
turnover
first down.
My concern with this one is I think Jacob Savoni made one too many cuts. I think if he would have stayed underneath that just a little longer, he might have had a chance. But I do not want to be critical of this young man. He's been tremendous. He's the running back with the vision. I'm sitting up here as an offensive lineman, and I like to see the one cut and go. But in this case scenario, the blocking might just not have been there for him, and they did turn the ball over on downs.
So 1st and 10 at the 51-yard line. Hamilton looking to do what they did at the end of the first quarter. Score. 3 in the motion. Belbeck looking to throw. Up over the middle, intercepted. Picked off this time from McDougall. McDougall brought down at center field with just over a minute to go in the second quarter. McDougall with the INT.
What a nice play by your linebacker. Now he's coming up just a little bit gimpy, but I'm guessing he's going to want to stay in. He's going to wave everybody off and say, I'm good, don't worry, I got this. Let's hope it's nothing serious, because you just saw how valuable he is. He is, it looks like he is working his way to the sideline here. Obviously, the defense just came off and created that turnover. Nice under-over coverage. He did a tremendous job of intercepting that ball, reading the quarterback's eyes. Let's see if we can pick up what might have happened on the potential injury.
Right there.
He just tripped up his toe, and he landed on his knee. So hopefully it's nothing too serious.
So it's now 1st and 10 of the 54 after the 16th INT from the Fratmen's defense this season. Hayes Williams underneath. Able to break on ahead to pick up more yardage to the 35 for the first down.
Yeah, and unlike the first quarter where the go routes have been there, this has been there the entire second quarter. Get it out to your guys on the outside. They're playing a big cushion out there, and Jared Hayes Williams now is getting in on that action, and he's going to catch that ball and work his way up for, it looked like, about 20 yards, and now they're approaching that scoring zone.
Technically 19 and a half at the most. 1st and 10 of the 35 with 58 seconds now to go. One timeout remaining per side here in this half. Clock now rolling. Savoni the back once more. This time, handed back off to Savoni. Savoni with running room. Savoni brought down inside the 15.
Yeah, and nice little counter back off of that. You go spread, you go wide, they widen out, they play off, their linebackers loosen up a little bit, and before you know it, you're past the first level. There's not a single linebacker to be found, and Savoni picks up another big chunk yards, 20-some-odd yards. He's got to be close to 100 yards, if not over by now.
A lot of yardage and chunk plays this evening. The tackle from Tristan Jamison Hunter. Beal sets up with 2 backs this time for 1st and 10 to the 13-yard line. About 30 seconds to go. Savoni cutting right, pushes off some Hurricanes. Inside the 5, the dive, the end zone, touchdown.
He was possessed on that play. What a tremendous run, Justin. He was patient at the point of attack, let his blocks develop, came underneath the kick-out block, turned it to the sidelines, out-sprinted a guy, and then just ran over the last 2 to find his way into the end zone. And nice blocking on the back end of that from his receivers as well. You'll see here on the replay, just that straight counter. You got the guard and the tackle. So there's the kick. He comes underneath that. Then he works his way. Makes one guy miss in the hole, 2 actually. And then as he's driving his way to the sideline, he realizes at some point I'm going to have to run somebody over. Puts his foot in the ground, runs him over, runs over the second guy. And Jared Hayes-Williams was blocking all the way to the point of the goal line. So the guy he was on wasn't going to make that tackle. Extra point is good. Extending the lead. You turn it over on downs. Braden McDougall gets the interception. And the Fratmen pay it off with another touchdown for Jacob Savoni.
Next one ties the OFC record, by the way. He's 2 away from passing the record set in 1977 now with that one. So with 22 seconds to go in the first half, 46-7. St. Clair now over Hamilton. And I'm curious how things will turn out now second half-wise. With such a big advantage, you'd have to think. But again, this gets back to similar conversations with some of the big scoring we've seen from some of the recent home games with Fratmen.
Well, yeah, I didn't expect it to be this lopsided. Hamilton is a better football team than 46-7. At least I would suspect. I'm not going to take anything away from the Fratmen. Fratmen have been outstanding all year long, and they have been able to do this against just about everybody. Even when they went up to London the last time, they got up on them early, and that game probably could have been a lot more than it was as the final score turned out. But I mean, Hamilton, you could tell right now from the simplicity of their game plan. I really do think they're waiting for next week.
Off and away. Returned and bobbled around the 10. Picked back up. Now brought along towards the outside. Jones runs out of bounds. Solid pickup now with 17 seconds to go in the first half. And now bring back out the offensive unit for Hamilton once more. After having the interception, that was their 14th as the offensive unit, by the way, this season. Yeah, coming up, the halftime report with Dom Papa. Be sure to stay tuned in here on We Digital.
Yeah, the one thing I'm paying attention to right now is I don't see Braden McDougall, which is fine. The game is out, a 39-point differential right now. So he's not on the field. Mm-hmm. I do see him on the sideline, and he's being tended to. He's smiling, so it doesn't look like it's too serious. So let's just hope it's that, nothing too serious.
The run game to start off this drive, brought across the 30 to about the 32. And that brings us to about 12 seconds to go in the first half.
Yeah, and I think they're just trying to get out of this half here. They just simple little handoff, and it looks like it was number 56 who made the tackle for the Fratmen, and that was Nick Brakovich.
So Brakovich with the tackle, 2nd and 2. Clock now reaching zeros as this will be the last play of the first half. Bellback going under center. 2 backs behind. 4 wide receivers set. And whistles start to blow right as the snap was about to go off because the play clock reached 0 again.
Yeah, the play clock reached 0.
And now they're starting to chirp a bit.
They're fine. Just everyone go back to their huddle and just everyone leave it alone. The snap came and the offensive linemen get just a little bit heated when one of their guys in the backfield get hit a little early, or in this case, on a dead play. So there was a time count violation.
Second time.
Yeah, it's going to be, the thing is, in this case, it's third down now. It's a loss of down with under 3 minutes, so they're going to be third down, and my guess is they're going to take a knee. I can't see Hamilton doing anything other than that.
Time count penalty on the offense. Changes it to third down.
So it indeed third down.
So the loss of down does do that, so I can't suspect them doing anything other than taking a knee, but they're down by a lot. Maybe they'll throw something up for grabs.
See what they elect to do here. You see that discussion now from the Hurricanes.
Yeah, Coach Hayes wants to talk to Brent Webster, and I'm sure he's asking, why wasn't there a penalty for the hit afterwards? You guys blew the whistle, and there was contact at some point in time, and just a reactionary play. And he's just voicing some concern, and they're just looking at that saying, yeah, no, he's not too happy with the answer he just got.
So now that they've got the answer, again, this play expected to end the first half either way. Play call now coming from the sideline. But this 46-7 advantage.
They are in a huddle, so they call the play. They're clearly not taking a knee here. Maybe a draw, maybe a screen.
So I formation once more. Two receivers on the motion. Lexington hand it off to end off the half. They pick up a couple. And after 30 minutes of play, the Fratmen are up 46-7. That brings us to halftime here on We Digital. Stay tuned in. The halftime report coming up with Don Papa. You're watching We Digital from Acumen Stadium in Windsor, Ontario.
Did you know that the most severe injuries in our region are motor vehicle crashes? 65% of road fatalities last year were directly the result of distracted driving. 90% of injuries arriving in our emergency rooms are preventable. Our message to you this summer is, put down the phone. Just drive. Let's work together to keep our trauma stretchers empty.
From Cambridge, Ontario. His son Ethan was one of the gentlemen that was talked to today. And thanks for doing this with us, Sean, and welcome to Windsor. And I'm curious, obvious question here, Sean, your impressions of everything you've seen here today.
Oh, it's first rate all the way. I was very impressed. I wasn't expecting this level of just the facilities, the program. It's, we've looked at university programs, and this looks to be like at a similar level to that.
Obviously, in Cambridge, the high school athletes got to play football this year. We talked about that before we went on air here this year. And how important was that for your son that he got to play that way?
Oh, very important. After missing last year, obviously everyone has, and we were fortunate enough to get a partial season. We got 3 games of regular season and playoffs in. So he, it's his last year of high school, and it's just it meant the world to him to get that last year in.
Yeah, for sure, I can imagine. I'm sure the family has discussed, what they would like for their son, where he's going to continue his football career, and things like that. What is the game plan for Ethan, and what are you hoping to find?
The first thing is he wants to get an education, right? And so not everyone's meant to go to a full academic university. A lot of kids, it's the trades and the more technical programs are the path for them, and he sees himself in that regard, and then we're just amazed and thankful that St. Clair has created a program like that where kids like him can go more of a trade route and still get to play a high level of football, which he would love to do. So that's awesome. And
of course, I'm sure when you came down here, there's a lot to absorb, obviously, as a dad and certainly as your son, the athlete. Is there anything that has stood out to you so far? I know you had a chance to meet Coach LaChance. He had a chat with all of the group that was here. Anything that stood out to you and your son so far?
I don't think anything specific. Just everything combined, really. Just the fact that it's next level compared to everything that you've done so far with city ball, with high school and so forth. So just the fact that he can continue to do that and just another a level above where he's at. That's what impressed me the most.
Are you okay with him leaving home, or is that going to be a little tough?
Mother that one, yeah, exactly. So I mean, I'm okay with it, but it's like everything. You gotta learn to let them go and find their own way. So hopefully, he can do that and succeed.
I mean, Cambridge to Windsor is not too bad a drive. I think, 2.5 hours or something like that. So it's not a bad drive. And when you come to a facility like this, you just think, wow, my kid's going to be playing on this field perhaps. I mean, if it works out that way, we hope he comes here, that's for sure. But, to play on a facility like this just has to be something that every athlete aspires to.
Well, of course. I mean, when we first drove in, we saw it. We saw it on pictures on the internet and stuff like that. But when you actually see it, you go, wow, like that's impressive. That looks like any of the university stadiums we've seen. Some better than some probably. And so, yeah, very impressive. And like I said, just that next level, that next step up is what, it's what's impressive. So
now you're from the Cambridge area, which in its own right is a tremendous sports area. I mean, Cambridge, Waterloo, Kitchener, Guelph, all of them around there. There's, I'm sure, a number of places that are a possibility for your son. Is that happening? Like, is there a lot of talk going on? And how do you think he's handling it? And how are you handling it as a parent?
I mean, I just take it as it comes. But I mean, yeah, there's 3 universities in the area, obviously with Guelph, Laurier, and Waterloo. But I just, from his perspective, again, I don't want to speak too much for my son, but I do know what he wants to do. But it's, he's just said that, I don't really want to do that. I want to go to college, and like I said, we're just glad that there's a path there. So it's highly, it's looking very good that he'll choose this path. So we'll see where it goes. Yeah,
it's good news, that's for sure. And this is certainly something unique here, something that was created by St.Clair. They bought the junior program, and now they've made it work, and players are getting scholarships. This is something I think that could really evolve for a lot of young athletes like your son.
Yeah, that was like, I think one time when I found out about this, I posted on like Facebook or whatever, and I said, this is amazing. I'd love to see more cities or more colleges or more associations, whatever, follow suit. I mean, if that happens, that'd be amazing, because once the young kids that are in high school and they start to play football and they realize, hey, there's more paths for me to play football and get an education, more of them will take an interest in that. So I just think that's something that could really grow the sport too as well.
Absolutely. And you mentioned the education's first and foremost. I couldn't agree with you more with that, Sean. But from a football perspective, what are you hoping for in a football program? And, again, what is your son hoping for?
He just loves the game. So he just loved to play football at the next level. He's always played at a high level, and he's been successful. And I just think that's just to push him harder from an athletic perspective. And like that's what he's looking for. Have fun. He loves the game. And he just wants to have fun. Get out on that field.
Dad was a hockey player. Your son's a football player. Where did that go wrong?
I don't know. I mean, they put him on skates when they were like 3 or 4. They didn't take to it, and then later on, as they grew up, they found football, and they never looked back. So it is what it is.
That they're involved, though. That's a good thing, just to keep them active. Really appreciate you giving us some time here tonight. Great to meet you, and certainly we wish you the best for you and the family, and of course Ethan. We do hope that he wears a Fratmen uniform come next fall, but if not, we wish him luck nonetheless, and I'm sure he'll do well wherever he ends up.
Thank you.
Sean Evely visiting us from Cambridge, Ontario, his son being recruited here by the Fratmen, as were a number of other players here today. So the Fratmen continue to work hard on the field, but boy, make no mistake, they work hard off the field as well. We're going to take a quick timeout. When we come back, we're going to take a playoff preview look for you. Badia Kwas will join me for that. The games are all set. We'll match them up for you. You're watching OFC Football on We Digital Productions.
My name is Nicole Pekala. Before I was in the welding program, I was a pet nutritionist at a pet shop for about 3 years. You'll be surprised how great it is to be a woman in the trades, because it's such a welcoming community. Every woman that I've met that's in the trades program or has studied within the trades is just so happy to be in it. And why wouldn't you want to be a part of something that everybody else is enjoying and loving themselves?
Did you know that the most severe injuries in our region are motor vehicle crashes? 65% of road fatalities last year were directly the result of distracted driving. 90% of injuries arriving in our emergency rooms are preventable. Our message to you this summer is, put down the phone. Just drive. Let's work together to keep our trauma stretchers empty.
Welcome back to Acumen Stadium. We continue on with our halftime report. It's the St.Clair Fratmen and Hamilton Hurricanes doing battle here tonight. 46-7 is our halftime score in favor of the Fratmen. So really not surprised. Maybe a little bit more scoring than what we thought, but nonetheless, we knew the Fratmen were going to be firing on all cylinders. It's really not much of a game for the Hurricanes, as our color commentator, Badia Quas, joins us here at halftime. And I'm not totally surprised by the score, Badi, but just the same, you got to figure, the Fratmen they're in playoff mode already here.
They are in playoff mode, but I also think Hamilton's in playoff mode, but they're not in playoff mode with the Fratmen in mind right now. They're in playoff mode with London in mind next week. They might be very vanilla. They might be very basic. This is the film that's going to be going to London for next week. They're not tipping their hat on anything. Their coverages don't look too special on the back end of their defense. You could already tell a few of their specialty players aren't even on their field. Leading rusher's not playing. Their specialty players aren't playing. Their leading return man isn't playing. So I don't want to say they're giving up or they're just a foregone conclusion that they're losing this. They have a bigger picture. They want to see the Fratmen again. They want to be on this field again, but they know this game isn't the game that they want. So they're gearing up towards the London game. They beat that, they'll get their chance to play here a more complete game in a few weeks.
That's why we wanted to get you on here as well, Badi. We're going to take a look at the playoffs, of course. You alluded to it. Hamilton and London are going to meet up in one of the OFC semifinals, and that game will be played in London. So the Beefeaters will be well rested at home. No travel from. Not that it's a lot of travel. It's not a lot of distance between Hamilton and London, but London earned their way to second place, and I think home field could be a big edge of going into that game.
Yeah, I think so. The fact that they are on bye this week, they can get healthy. That gives them 2 weeks without necessarily having to burn out all their players. They can probably give the guys 2 days off completely this whole weekend and get healthy into a nice little stretch of hard work on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then gear it back on Thursday, Friday in preparation for this. So London is in a position where they should be able to fire on all cylinders going into the playoffs. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody from London is here watching this game right now, just getting their own physical eyes on both the Fratmen and the Hurricanes, because from London's perspective, they want to play Hamilton next week, and in 2 weeks come right back down here to play the Fratmen. And again, I don't want to concede that the Fratmen are going to get there. They're likely going to beat Quinny next week. So, the London is going to be amped up. It is a close rivalry. Home field is likely going to play in their favor simply because they're sleeping in their own beds. They're well rested, no travel, no getting up early, and they're going to want to make a statement of their own heading into that final game.
Before we get to the Fratman-Quinny game, I want to just bring up one more question with the Hamilton-London game. You've had a good look at Hamilton here tonight. I know you know London well. What's going to be key in that game for both squads?
Well, I honestly think it's going to come down to which defense is going to make the best adjustment to either force the hand of the offense. Like right now, if you're London, you're looking at that saying, well, Windsor's able to run and throw. If they're going to man up, we probably have some athletes that can cover and run past them. Now, that being said, I think Hamilton wants to slow the game down when they go up to London. They don't want to get into a shootout. I don't think Hamilton's perimeter is built to get into a shootout. They want to be able to go out there, control the line of scrimmage, hand the ball off, a good mix with some play action, and if you do get aggressive, catch you on a back-end screen, something like that from their offense. If Hamilton can control the line of scrimmage next week, they will definitely be in the game. But I think if they get into a sprinting type match, if they get into an offensive type explosion, I actually think that favors London. I think London has just a little bit more offensive firepower.
And quickly, you look at the standings. That's it's going to end up Fratman 8-0, and Hamilton will end up at 4-4. The Beefeaters only 2 losses were against the Fratmen. So let's bring in Quinty quickly here, Badi. I got a minute. Great that a first-year team got in the playoffs, first of all, but obviously the Fratmen heavy favorites here.
No question, and I think it's an actually great matchup for the Fratmen, and I'll say it from this perspective. Quinny was so well coached the last time they played, even though they were outmatched. They didn't look like they were chippy. They didn't look like they were dirty. They were just playing hard, good football, which is the kind of game I think the Fratmen want next week. They don't want to have to worry about the sort of stupidity that can come out of intense rivalry games where there's fights at the end of it. I don't think you'll see that. Now, Quinte is getting back a couple of their players that didn't play. Their linebacker who did not play the last time around, who, according to the coaching staff from the Fratmen, is outstanding. So I'm interested to see him come back and how he's going to test this Fratmen offense.
A decent game. Should be a good test for the Fratmen. And, of course, we'll have all the action for you right here next Saturday. The Quinte Skyhawks will be in town to take on the St. Clair Fratmen OFC semifinal playoff action here on We Digital Productions. A quick timeout, and we'll call the second half. Badia Kwas and Justin Prince with all the action. You're watching OFC football on We Digital Productions.
Welcome back to Windsor, Ontario for today's coverage of OFC football from Acumen Stadium in the Rose City. 46-7. Fratmen is the score with 30 minutes to play in this matchup. Justin Prince Medikwas with you here on We Digital as we're about to get things back underway for the start of second half action. A quick boot from Hallway. This one returned from inside the 5-yard line. Ento trying to step back this time, spun back around to around the 16-yard line.
Yeah, you can't lollygag back there. You're just letting a faster team with more coverage come down there, and that looked like it was Tristan Rutherford who came down and made the tackle on that coverage unit. The Hurricanes have been back in their own end the entire game for the most part. They had one good drive, Justin, but I know they're sort of prepping and planning for next week, and they're not necessarily worried about the outcome of this game. But they got to be concerned with how deep they're being pinned, and they're starting so deep in their own end zone. That's not good rhythm. That's not good momentum going into next week. You don't want to feel this way going into next week.
A lot to keep an eye on here now as we start off the offensive drives here for the second half of play. A new quarterback is under center, starting off with an incompletion. Say hello to James Duke.
Yeah, James Duke. That doesn't look like he has the size of Brebeck, and it looks like he is just a little smaller, like a thinner, I should say, maybe not height-wise, but
6 foot 195 pounds.
Yeah, he just doesn't look as full as the other quarterback, but nonetheless, probably try to get him reps. You never know when a backup quarterback is going to come into play for you.
The difference: Belbeck is 2 inches taller and 10 pounds heavier. Officially, 2nd and 10 at the 18. Back to the ground game. Finding a little space, Williams. Williams cutting on forward, brought down just shy of the 40 for a first down.
Yeah, and that is probably a product of a couple different things. I know the number 1 unit is not complete right now out there. You'll see on the replay, there are 2 or 3 notable changes. I definitely don't see McDougall back out there quite yet. That being said, the Fratmen are going to also start looking forward into next week. They're going to make sure anyone who is nursing an injury is probably not going to play this second half because they need to get themselves healthy for the start of the playoffs next Saturday night.
When it comes to McDougall, by the way, he is on the sideline conversing with his teammates currently for this 1st and 10 of the 39. Throw short, incomplete. Closest receiver was Luka Jones. Holloway amongst those with coverage this time.
Yeah, it looked weird. I don't know if that ball was deflected. It took a nosedive somehow. Let's see what the flag is, though.
Yes, indeed, there was a flag.
So we have an offside against the offense. They'll probably decline it because 2nd and 10 is likely the better option.
Offside. Number 89, Hamilton.
That is indeed the case.
2nd down.
That makes it 2nd and 10. Here's a look.
Let's look. This ball just, I don't know, came out weird. Yeah, it was tipped. That's exactly what happened. I saw the ball looked awfully weird. Didn't look like a throw from a quarterback, and it was indeed tipped. So good pass breakup by the Fratmen D-line getting their hands on that.
Running clock is instituted, by the way. We're already 3 minutes into the 3rd quarter. Duke way off the back foot, complete. Williams trying to cut ahead, brought down around the 43. That will make it 3rd and long.
Well, now, Jake Holloway got hit hard on that play. And he was the safety, and we're going to see what happens. They did a throwback screen here, so you'll see the quarterback sprint out to the right.
And there was a flag, it looks like, from the far side.
And Sykes is bringing the pressure, so they're able to get that ball off. And you'll see at the bottom of the screen, Jake Holloway was actually down. He took on the blocker. Okay, so he's asking the coaching staff what they want to do here.
Unnecessary roughness. Block in the back. Hamilton, number 89. Dead ball, foul. It'll be 3rd down.
Okay, so I'll explain that to everyone just so you understand. They can accept the result of the play, and because it's a major foul, they're going to lose the down, and they're still going to back this up. So it's going to be 3rd down and what now amounts to about 20 full yards. So a critical error from the Hurricanes. It looked like it was an illegal chop block was the indication. They're trying to really eliminate that. If you're not at the line of scrimmage in the clothesline tackle box, you're not allowed to chop. And that is probably what happened. We didn't necessarily see it on the replay. But nonetheless, the play stood. They backed them up, and it's going to bring off that punting situation at 3rd and extremely long.
And there's still some players trying to get on the field here. Now there's a miscommunication back and forth here. That was the Birds trying to go back and forth, and another play clock expiring here with all the miscommunication 3rd time tonight.
They took a timeout, it looks like, Justin. So
we'll see.
I saw the indication from Brent Webster that they took a timeout. I wouldn't have taken the timeout. I'd have just taken the 5-yard penalty. What's the difference? Like, you're punting either way. So, to me, from a game management standpoint, I still want to coach it the way I should normally coach it. 3rd and 25 and 3rd and 20 is no different to me. Shouldn't have taken that timeout. Take the penalty and punt away.
So can confirm was the timeout indeed. This one is punted away now to midfield. Brought away by Lewis. Lewis looking for some space. Lewis looping back the other way now. Lewis with a lot of open space. Calling for some blockers. Having to juke out a few more. Lewis is still going. Brought down at about the 16-yard line. What a return from Dante Lewis.
Yeah, he went right, stop, jump cut, forward, left, and found the left sideline. He catches this ball right at the midfield stripe. It looks like he's going to have something set up along the right-hand side, so he starts accelerating up across the logo, comes to the realization that his progress is cut off, works his way back, and next thing you know, he sees, I do have a little bit of a sideline, and he starts directing traffic. He's, okay, you block him, point downfield. I'm going to outrace this first guy, but let's see if we can find ourselves into the end zone. He jump stops, works his way back across the 25 through the 20, and finally tackled at the 15.
And quickly, 1st and 10 was snapped fast for Jacob Savoni. Was given this confirmation to, at the end of the half, about 120 yards was picked up. 14, make it now 13 yards with this pickup here. Moves them to 2nd in the CGFL in rushing yards.
Yeah, and I think with Jacob Savoni, they'd like to find pay dirt with him one more time to challenge that OFC touchdown record as well.
Absolutely. 2nd and 9 quickly being worked up. This time Beal looking to throw through some traffic and dropped. Holmes the intended target. And here's part of the reason there. That would have put him first in TDs as a receiver.
Slightly underthrown. I think Michael Beal would love to have that ball back. If he would have thrown it to the back part of the end zone. Cody Holmes was 5 yards clear on the deep side, and he had a ton of room off the back of the end zone. Michael tried to finesse that in, and the corner was able to undercut that and almost pick it off. But there is some confusion right now because they called for a field goal, so whether the Fratmen take a timeout or whether they're going to just quickly rush up because there's only 5 seconds left, and it looks like they're going to have to use their second timeout.
So quickly, timeout called.
Timeout.
With 8:30 to go in the
St.Clair.
third quarter.
So they actually had 2 guys not there. They didn't have an offensive lineman, but they also kind of need their long center. Matt O'Neill came off a little bit late, and their long snapper wasn't out on the field there. Those are the kind of things that when you are up big, you lose that concentration. Sideline management is critical. All players still need to be aware of game situation. Can't be burning timeouts like that.
Hallway looking for what would be the second field goal of the night from him. Up and through the uprights, it's good. 49-7 with 8:16 to go in the third. The league stands a little bit more.
Yeah, and there was a lot of pileup right at the point of the kick. You saw a couple people coming up just walking a little bit gimpy off of that, but they did indeed get that field goal through. And it looks like Hamilton's electing to scrimmage at the 35-yard line here.
Currently, these teams in the midst of preparing things back out here. They will place the ball at the 35-yard line for 1st and 10 this time. See how Hamilton tries to move the ball forward here. Again, this program won OFC championships in 2010, 11, 16, and 18 entering this campaign. 1st and 10. James Duke, the quarterback still. One back sets up behind. 2 receivers setting up very deep for the motion. 3 now moving forward. Duke looking to throw again. This time lofting it up down the sideline. Incomplete. That time intended for Anto.
Yeah, unless that receiver had the range of Megatron Calvin Johnson, this ball was sailing way too far to the outside. I don't think he really had a chance to complete this. This ball was going way out of bounds already, and as you can see, it landed 7 yards out of bounds, and his first hand he was already out of bounds when he touched it. So probably didn't get a ton of reps this week or this season. Most backup quarterbacks don't get a tremendous amount of game reps, so my guess is he's just a little rusty, and when you have a cold night like that, you just don't have that same touch.
2nd and 10 now, just past halfway to the third quarter. 3 back in the motion. And miscommunication there. Several receivers passed by the line of scrimmage before they snapped the ball.
Yeah, I think that was the center's fault. It looked like a couple of the offensive linemen moved. It looked like a couple of the receivers moved. But then again, it could have been a Fratman who moved as well.
Offside.
No, they're going to call it on
Hamilton,
the
5-yard penalty.
I think the center was just late snapping the ball. Because when 5 or 6 guys are moving forward, it's easier to say that the center just mistimed his snap.
Especially when you have, at that point, some of the receivers, with the timing of that, were 10 yards already down the field. 2nd and 15 now, coming up here. Once again, 3 receivers setting up deep for the potential motion here. Duke under center, looking to throw quick, and again incomplete. This bounces out of play. That makes it 3rd down again.
Yeah, miscommunication with his receiver. His receiver stopped on a hitch and looked like the quarterback Duke threw a hook. So rather than it being at the line of scrimmage, he threw it about 4 yards down the line of scrimmage or down the field, and that just threw the complete timing off. As you can see, the coaches are just they're not as serious. I don't want to negate the fact that it's not a game, but they know they're prepping for next week, so they're not going to be yelling and screaming at their players nearly as much.
So getting things all set up for the punt once more after the crazy return from Lewis last time. This time Lewis again the target. Picks it up around the 46. Lewis now with some blockers with some help. Lewis jukes out a couple. Lewis again across midfield, and this time slows down. And a flag is down couple yards away from midfield.
Yeah, it was a push in the back, no question. Marcus Cooper pushed the guy flat on the back, didn't need to.
Illegal
it's
block.
going to move him back, and there's
Number
the
14,
call.
St.
You'll
Clair,
probably see it on the
10-yard
replay.
penalty.
That's
It'll
an
be
easy
first
call.
down for
I'm
St.
shocked
Clair.
5 flags didn't come out because it was that blatantly obvious. So you'll see as the ball gets kicked, it pans into us as they're crossing around where it says Saints. You'll see number 14, Marcus Cooper, who's now going to peel back, and he's going to escort them. So as they're coming up to this point in time, now he's got to turn it up the field just a little further, coming at the bottom of the screen. If we see it on number 44.
Right there.
Right there. Simple, plain as day. Our camera crew made me look like I know what I'm talking about because they had it perfectly angled out. As Jacob Savoni starts busting another run, and that's probably going to get him over or near that second in the country in rushing.
About 3 or 4 now away with that one. Second and 1 on the 9-yard rush. Of note, Daniel Mayu is now the quarterback in for St. Clair.
As he should be. You need Michael Beal for what you're hoping for is a 3-week playoff run.
Especially with Quinty coming up next week. Now, the big fullback coming in for this one. That is London Dawson, who had a sack earlier, coming in to block. This time they go towards the backup running backs. David Ariam with the quick rush. That looks like it may be enough, yes indeed, for a first down.
And that's what you want. You want to be able to convert those 3rd and shorts and get yourself back into that manageable situation. First down, reset it. If you can put together a 6-minute drive here, get into those sort of offensive mindsets. Some teams like to have 8-minute, 4-minute, 2-minute type drive mindsets. Right now you're looking in that 8-minute type drive. You're near midfield. It might not be the full 8 because you got good field position, but you want to be able to sustain a drive here, and let's see if they can do that with some backups in.
Doing the motion still, looking to pass. Mayu picked off, intercepted by the Hurricanes. Down the sideline, inside the 10, tight roping in, touchdown, Hamilton. Marcus Jones will celebrate as Jeremy Hicks gets the INT. And now that's the second touchdown coming from the Hamilton Hurricanes on the night.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Dan's eyes just locked in on his number 1 receiver the entire time. He did not come off of that. He did not even check that there was underneath coverage on that. Receiver and him were not on the same page. I believe the receiver was running the route. He should have expanded out because there was that underneath cut coverage there, and that was an easy pick 6 the other way.
And some miscommunication now for the Fratmen still. They are still scrambling players out here for this extra point attempt. Amongst them, Jordan Krug now getting to the sideline. Play now blown in after the pick 6. That is, as a group, the 13th interception by Hamilton this season. Extra point attempt up and good. 49-14 with under 40 minutes to play in the 3rd quarter after that one.
Yeah, that was a nice run back. Marcus Hagel. It looked like it was number 17 who made that interception. And it was just, Dan hasn't had the reps. I know Dan's played some football in this league. He did split time a couple years ago with Colton Allen. They did have, it's not like he's brand new to this. He's thrown touchdowns in this league.
Yeah.
But the thing is, though, this year he has not had nearly the amount of reps, and last year there was no football at all. So his progression was halted because of the year off, and I think he just needs to let his coaching take over. He has to put himself in a situation where if indeed Michael Beal gets hurt, I have to make the right decisions. Mm-hmm. He can't just trust that his big arm is going to bail him out all the time. He needs to go through his reads and ensure that he makes the right decisions.
Good point there as the Hurricanes get ready to kick things off here. Get 49-14 now to score. That in turn means 86 points allowed now from the Fratmen this season. They've now scored more than 400 this campaign. Lewis again with the return. Across the 20. Round to the sideline. Knocked out just shy of the 40-yard line. Another speedy return from Lewis.
Yeah, and I'm not sure exactly why the return men were so shallow. They got up past the 20-yard line at one point, but pretty good kick, kicked it deep, and the patience Dante Lewis has, and then he accelerates up the sideline, so he's able to really turn it into something that probably should have been maybe pinned inside the 20-yard line.
Well, a lot of the kickoffs tonight from Hamilton have bounced around or been picked up around the 10, keep in mind, as Mayu set things up by formation. Under 2 minutes to play in the third quarter. Two in the motion. Looking to pass. Mayu goes short, complete. Now pick up 3 or 4. Rutherford on the catch.
Yeah, that time he did, at the very least when he looked left, he identified where the linebacker was, and he threw it to the proper side where the pressure wasn't going to get to him, and he was not really risking any kind of interception, a short, safe completion at that point in time. But he did have a seam route that was screaming up the field, so I'm not sure if he was just told, okay, try to go underneath on this, but read through your progression still.
Moved on ahead now for the handoff. This time it's Keon Vokes. Vokes with another big run. Vokes to the sideline in Hamilton territory. And here's the big thing with Vokes. Coming into tonight, and for much of the season, he actually averaged more yards per carry than Savoni had.
Yeah, that's just a product of him having 3 or 4 explosive runs, but doesn't have the volume of runs that Savoni has. That being said, it's nice to see some of the O-linemen, the backups are in right now, and they're still getting some push. And this is the kind of drive you want to see. Lean on them, get a couple first downs, maybe kill 5, 6, 7 minutes of the fourth quarter, as this is likely going to be the last to second to last play of this third quarter.
7 on the play clock for 1st and 10 at the 49-yard line. 3 back in the motion. Mayu electing to pass this time. Trying to jump up to Rutherford. And it squeaks out. Play is still active. Hamilton picks up the big bubble out, and that puts him in Fratman territory.
Yes, it does, and Rutherford had 2 hands on it, came down and made a move, and it was jarred loose here. So Dan looks through, moves the safety a little bit, and you see Rutherford catches the ball cleanly, and then it's punched out. The ruling on the field was clearly that it was an interception.
Yep.
But you got to secure the ball. You can't. That's 2 successive offensive drives that end in a turnover. And that is definitely not the way you want to play, especially if you're in a backup role. You want to prove to the coaches that you can be trusted in all facets of the game.
3 quarters down, 1 to go. The Fratmen lead 49-14 over the Hurricanes here on We Digital. These teams are immediately getting themselves back rolling for the start of this fourth quarter here at Acumen Stadium. Not taking their time here to set things up offensively with the clock already rolling for the first 10 seconds off the board of the quarter. Duke still in at quarterback with one running back behind. Looking to pass this time. Gave it off for the handoff instead after the pressure. Breaks on forward for a pick of about 5 or 6.
Yeah, good little run. He picked up a little something out of that.
Look at this.
He realized that it was a misexchange, a little bit of a bad mesh, but they still got it off in the pressure. Ran past it, and he still picked up a positive gain there.
That was Sykes on the pressure, by the way, for the handoff. So it's 2nd and 5. And many fans have stayed out here in these cold temperatures this evening, but a red-hot victory. As long as things hold, the Fratmen will finish the season 8-0 here in OFC play in 2021 for the regular season. 3 in the motion for this snap. Looking to pass Duke. Intercepted. Picked off right up the middle. And quickly diving on down after the interception. That is Brankovic with the pick.
Again, another great play by a linebacker. You see, the first person to congratulate him was Braden McDougall. He's saying to himself, okay, linebackers are obviously, you think of them as run stoppers, but in this case scenario, he gets his depth into that hook curl area. Big, tall, rangy player, and the ball skills to actually intercept it. Great job by that Fratman linebacking crew, picking off their 2nd of the game. Outstanding effort.
17th as a unit this season now for the Fratmen, interception-wise. And now, Mayu will come back onto the field for I formation for 1st and 10. Looking to throw. Throws it straight under the pressure and intercepted. Picked off this time by Adrian Allen. Allen cuts left. This time tackled down by Dylan Samuels.
Yeah, I think his arm was hit this time, and that's why the ball came out a little bit wobbly. But nonetheless, another turnover. And, I mean, you'll see here on the replay that there was pressure. His arm was clearly hit by number 44.
Colin Shannon.
And that caused the errant short-handed throw. And then you get a great return, setting up the Hurricanes for some great field position, and puts your defense back on the field in the red zone.
And this is now getting interesting in the fourth, and you see some contact after everything. Accidental contact as you see the Fratmen player immediately try and pick him back up. 1st and 10 inside the red zone. 3 minutes into the fourth quarter here on We Digital. One running back sets up behind. That is Josh Auger again. Looking to pass. Duke stepping up. Wobbles towards the end zone. And incomplete.
He had him. That's the one where you want to put it right on your guy. That's not one where you want to go high and let him run under it. He was open. He should have squatted right there, and that needs to be just a line laser bullet right between the 1 and the 7.
So that makes it 2nd and 10. Clock continues to roll with this big advantage. Keep in mind, you talked a bit about this with Dom during halftime. Quinty, the opponent for the postseason to start things off in the semifinals. Curious how that one's going to play off.
Well, I hope we're not curious about it. I hope it's just a Fratman victory. They are clearly the better team. If we have to start wondering whether or not they're going to win that game or not, means it's a monumental collapse by the Fratmen.
Here comes the pocket collapsing down, still picked up for about a couple by Duke. That makes it 3rd and about 7 or 8. Here is that matchup we're referring to. Skyhawks doing a really decent job in their first campaign, essentially, and we'll see.
No question. The fact that they got 2 wins, they are in the playoffs, and they get to extend their season. Every single player on that team, if they are a returning player for next year, is going to use that as a building block to next year. You have to start somewhere, and they're starting in the playoffs.
Exactly. It's big for the program. 3rd and 7. Chance to try and chip into the gap here. Duke lifts it up towards the end zone. Out of bounds. Incomplete. And that's a turnover on downs.
Yeah, Duke really needs to give his receiver a chance, even if it's intercepted. At that point, it's 3rd down. He just launches this thing. This ball is not anywhere in a catchable zone right now. That ball lands, probably 12 yards out of bounds. His receiver was 3 steps out of bounds, and he still wasn't close to it. You got to put it in a spot where your guy can make a play. Even if it's picked, it doesn't matter. You're turning it over either way. So, experience. Maybe he's the quarterback of the future. I don't know what age he's at right now. It doesn't give us that depth chart where if it's his 2nd year, 3rd year, 1st year. But the bottom line is he needs that experience if he is a quarterback moving forward.
So 1st and 10, Mayu still in as quarterback after 5 minutes play in. Vokes brought down quickly on the rush. And appears to be I can't tell if it's a flag or something from the sticks that is along the 15.
Oh, no, it's a flag, all right. And it looked like the Hurricanes jumped. At least it looked from my vantage point that they did, but it was on the opposite side of the field.
24 St. Clair, decline, 2nd down.
So that means it's going to be a no play, and the play is going to count as a loss, so it's going to be 2nd down and 13.
Yep. 2nd and 13, and keep this in mind. We mentioned the record side of things when it came to Savoni. It's a big night regardless how you slice it Savoni-wise. It's essentially 2nd or 3rd top running back. That will be big by the end of this campaign, at the end of this night. Quick pass for Mayu. Got for a pickup of a few.
Yeah, and that's a timing thing there. That's one of those ones where if Dan gets that out just a little quicker, his receiver has a chance to catch the ball and maybe spin out of that. But that was just high and a little late, and the receiver pays the price because he gets it right in the ribs.
That brings up 3rd and 7, now halfway through this fourth quarter of play. It brings up the special teams units here. We'll see if the safety is the call here. And there's already some miscommunication. Hallway lifting up his arms here.
Yeah, because the long center isn't on the field again. And
second time.
Matthew O'Neill.
Timeout.
I've known Matt
St.Clair.
for a lot of years. He was one of my players at Essex High School, and he's slapping his head. He knows better than that, and he needs to get re-engaged in the game for this last quarter here to make sure that they don't have those mistakes.
There was a timeout burn, by the way, throughout that sequence. Hallway quickly punts it away from inside the 5. Turn for about the Hamilton 50. Trying to find space, Jones. Jones spun back, brought down, close to midfield. Signal is around the 54.
Yeah, great kick. Good job by Jones catching the ball in the air. And now we can see some of the stats that Jacob Savoni brought going into the game.
And keep in mind, he was the Offensive Player of the Week as well as the CGFL Offensive Player of the Week with the performance against GTA. Just 5 carries, 137 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, and that's what I was alluding to earlier.
Unnecessary roughness.
And to get a rough play
Number
against
14, Hamilton.
London
15-yard penalty.
Back 15,
First down, Hamilton.
Yes, Hamilton.
Move it back 15 yards, but mentioned it earlier about Jacob Savoni. He only carried the ball 5 times last week. Imagine if he had a normal workload, 14, 15 carries. He easily could have eclipsed the 1,000-yard plateau.
Yeah.
He easily could have led the country in rushing. The fact is, hopefully that allows him to be exceptionally fresh for a deep playoff run.
So now it's 1st and 10, ball spot at the 40-yard line. 6:28 to go in the fourth quarter. 3 in the motion once more. This time a handoff. Quickly trying to juke around and finds his face still as Williams. Picks up a couple. By the way, new quarterback is also in. They put Aiden Griffin behind center of the 3rd string.
Yeah, and the center here, something's wrong because those snaps are wobbling and it's throwing some of the timing off a little bit. You'd like to see him a little bit crisp, so I'm not sure if that's a backup center in as well. But nonetheless, there's some mesh point exchange issues when you get into the 2nd string center, 3rd string quarterback. Maybe you get into your 3rd string running back. It's a whole mix and mash of new bodies that don't really get a ton of game reps.
Starter entering tonight was Brady Cronin in that regard, by the way. This one sets up for 2nd down, 2nd and 6, nearly intercepted again, and Hallway nearly got it.
Yeah, he's going to be upset with himself on that one. He batted that like it was a volleyball. You'll see here on the replay, the ball sailed, and I think if he would have got 2 hands up on that, there would have been a better chance, but he gets up and he gets the one hand and he bats it, and fortunately for the Hurricanes, it went down to the ground and wasn't intercepted.
You see some of smiles around that sideline with about 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Setting things up for another punt.
What I would like to see on this punt is maybe not kick it to Dante Lewis.
Good
Practice
point.
kicking away. You're going to have to try to not kick it towards them at some point.
Or you have it snapped towards the ground. They do accomplish the attempt of that, but it still bounces its way to Lewis. Lewis cutting outside yet again, this time brought down to the 40. It started blowing towards Cooper that time, but it still bounced to Lewis.
Yeah, well, the ball should have been kicked to the sideline more. This still landed between the two.
Yeah.
They need to make a concerted effort to kick it away from the guy who's been carving you up because the ball still is between them, which gives him an opportunity to call the other guy off if need be.
So either way, fourth quarter continuing to roll on with about 4 minutes to go in this game. Fratmen just a few minutes away from an undefeated season in our new quarterback. This is Owen Mowat-Bennett again, peering into a game 2nd straight week. I formation to start things off. This time handed off to Riem. David Riem cutting ahead, brought down around the 50. That's enough for a 1st down.
A little surprised there wasn't a flag there. There was a lot of early movement there. I thought that left guard got up out of his stance before the snap here, and you'll see. Yeah, there was some early movement there, and the fact is the play should have been blown dead, but it's not like it's going to impact the outcome of the game.
And there's some of the discussion from the officials there, too, after that.
Well, the players on Hamilton are asking, why wasn't that blown dead?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure the players were asking that same thing.
You see that sideline now. Head coach moves off to the sideline. Going back in the motion, and this time drops. Still picked up by Rayum. Rayum quickly tackled around the line of scrimmage. That could have been an error turnover there.
Yeah, but the bigger concern on something like that is that's when people get hurt, when they don't know where the ball is and when there's miscommunication, people's ankles get rolled up. So that snap went right through the quarterback's hands, and then David alertly picked up the ball and then was able to get back to the line of scrimmage, maybe gain a half a yard, but still, you don't want to see the ball on the turf. People's legs, arms, things get all bent out of shape when it happens like that.
Inside the 3-minute warning now in the fourth quarter. 2nd and 10 at the 53. Headed things off again. Vokes, hard hit around the 52. 3rd down coming up. Vokes quickly back up.
Yeah, that was 7 on 7, I believe. That was the number 7 for the visitors, and that was Adrian Allen who made the stick right there. And indeed, 7 on 7, and it was a pretty big collision between the two. Fortunately for all parties involved, they got up immediately, and no one seems to be any worse for the wear.
See some of the coaching staff members checking in there as Hallway coming out for what may be one of the final punts, if not the final punt of the night. Hallway booted away. Just one returnman back this time, and that is Hicks. Hicks. Hard hit again around the 20-yard line. That brings us to under minute 45 to go in the fourth.
That's a great kick. That is an outstanding kick. That's exactly where you want that ball to be, and they gave the coverage time to get it there. As you see, the fans who are braving the final few minutes in the elements here, cheering on the home crowd.
A big victory for the Fratmen program, let's put it that way. First year at Acumen Stadium, undefeated regular season, absolutely huge for St.Clair Fratmen.
Yeah, the nice thing is they don't have to travel again. If everything falls in their way, they play next week at home. They host the OFC final with the potential to host the national championship. No more buses, no more travel. You got the comfort of your own bed and the comfort of your home field.
Under a minute to play, final few plays of the regular season. Looking to pass, deflected about, incomplete. And a couple different hands that appear gone on that one.
Yeah, and some of these backups who are in right now, their eyes are opening up. I know there when that was 27. It looks like it was Nash Preer who he had his eyes set on possibly making a break for the end zone here as this ball came through. The replay just cut us off a little early, but anytime a defender's out on the field, especially a defensive back, they still ball hawk and they want to find that end zone. They got a lot of positive ego or arrogance about them.
2nd down. Coming up to the final couple plays here. Quick rush, brought down for a pickup of maybe 1 or 2. And that will bring us towards the end of the clock here.
I wouldn't be surprised if they just blew it dead right now, but it looks like they're going to run one more play because they are huddling up.
Looking back towards that sideline once more. Several different records and totals tied or broken throughout the night. And break out the undefeated chance. One final snap for the regular season. I formation from Hamilton. But for the St.Clair Fratmen, the celebration starts. A quick handoff to Williams. Williams brought down quickly, and that's the end of the regular season. The Fratmen are undefeated, 8-0 for 2021. 49-14 the final.
That's it, Justin. Now it's real time. Playoffs is when it's a new season, 0-0. You can put the regular season to bed, and now you're looking forward to the playoffs.
Once again, 49-14 the final score tonight. Here on We Digital, the Fratmen finish off the regular season 8-0. And the celebrations underway fieldside here at Acumen Stadium after a big W tonight. So the celebration's underway. Just a few moments. Don Papa will be field side. In fact, he's just about all set to go to have conversation with Coach O'Shaughn's after an undefeated regular season here on We Digital. Dom, down to you.
I'd like to thank everybody for being here tonight and enjoying this great football.
Down here at field level, of course, joining us on the post-game report, head coach Mike Lachance. Perfect 8-0 season, coach. I thought, I think everybody knew the team was going to be pretty good, but did you envision 8-0?
That's the goal, right? But you only take them one game at a time. There's a lot of new pieces to this team, particularly at quarterback and running back, so you never know how it's going to go, but we certainly had a lot of guys step up, and it's been a good regular season. But as I've told our team, the real season starts next Saturday.
Yeah, and before we get to that, just a quick evaluation of the game tonight. And again, there are some standards that I'm sure you knew that you'd like to give your guys a shot at setting, and I think that was accomplished. But also, too, maybe send a message.
Yeah, definitely we wanted to come out with some fire. We had a great week of practice, really good preparation week, and our guys came out hungry, and it showed right away. I thought that that our starters played really well. A little disappointed with the second guys coming in, didn't keep that momentum up, but it's a coaching point that we'll concentrate on this week.
Okay, let's get to it now as you go. You mentioned, Coach, the real season, the second season, as we call it, the playoffs. You'll see the new team in the league, Quinny Skyhawks. Obviously, the Fratmen will go in as heavy favorites. I know you'll downplay that because you're just that kind of coach, and you'll have your guys ready mentally, I'm sure. But what do you expect there?
Well, Quinny presents, and I know our games against them have been lopsided. We've put a big crooked number on them, both in those games. But they present some different problems defensively. They got a couple really top-end players on defense. And offensively, they got a nice scheme where they throw the ball around and do some nice things. So we're definitely not overlooking them. They've got a great coaching staff, and anytime a team's got a good staff, you got to be prepared. So.
Of course, everybody's had a good look at your squad, Coach. Do you tweak anything? Do you maybe just try something a little bit different come playoff time, or you go with what got you there?
Yeah, no, we are who we are. I think we do certain things that everybody knows coming, and we do them really at a high level. And if they could stop it, then you're going to tip your hat to them, and you kind of move your chess piece to their move. But at this point right now, the way we're playing, we're going to do what we do really well.
That's why you're the head coach, and that's why you know this so well. Congrats on everything, Coach. We'll look forward to seeing you next week.
Appreciate it, Dom.
The head coach, Mike Lachance, celebrating an 8-0 season victory here tonight over Hamilton. They're perfect all year. They hope to continue that next week. Of course, the playoff game next week, right back here at Acumen Stadium. 7 p.m. will be kickoff. The Quinny Skyhawks will provide the opposition. It's the OFC semifinal, so tune in to We Digital. We'll have all the action for you live. That's it for tonight. On behalf of everybody here at We Digital Productions, this is Dominic Papa wishing you a great night. Thanks for tuning in. Take care, everybody.